Can you hear me now? You can hear me now, right? Now? Yeah. I had the mute button on because I'm smart. I'm smart. So, I guess you missed what I said. There is unfortunately no FK in the coffee, but there is like a little swirl, which might be a Dreamcast symbol. So that'll have to do. Thank you, Kinyo. I appreciate that. So, let's get this underway. And so we begin The Orpheus Ruse by Paul Gresty. Chapter 1, The Interloper. And I'll warn you guys ahead of time, this does have a bit of a slow start, because it's got a huge exposition dump, and you have to set up your gender, and there's all these variables and stuff at the beginning, so it's a little slow. Oh well. What do you see? You're standing in the departure lounge of Chicago's O'Hare Airport, your nose fairly pressed against one of the room's large plate glass windows. Beyond, the night's blackness is washed away by yellow floodlights. A Boeing 747 taxis into position beside a jetway. It's the first time you've seen an airplane up close. I see airplanes, you say. I see lights, I see men in orange vests walking around. One of them is waving some lights up at the pilot in the plane. The man beside you smiles and scratches his jaw. His name is Zev Aranovich, and he is the only person you know who is special, like you. He places his hands on your shoulders and draws you back a couple of paces. Now, look again, he says. Is it the same? You do, and at first it is. The same jumbo jet, the same ground crew. And then you see a difference. You see yourself reflected, the lights of the departure lounge throwing you into sharp contrast against the blackness of the night sky. I see myself, you tell Zev. I see you too. That's good, he says. Zev is tall, sort of stretched-looking. He has a short, curly hair and a short, frizzy beard. Again now, he smiles through that beard. I'm really leaving and never coming back, you ask him? The sudden change of subject seems to surprise him. I never said never, he answers. I'm sure you'll come back to America one day. Though it won't be for a few years, that's true. Perhaps hoping to distract you from the sudden melancholy shift in your mood, he says, let's practice using your gift again. Here? Why not? It'll be the last chance we get before arriving at the node. It can be a test of discretion, as well as of your metapsionic abilities. Inhabit one of the people in this room. Inhabit. Choose anybody you like, but above all, avoid drawing attention to yourself. Airport security staff intensely dislike any sort of unexpected situation that disrupts their routine. That is a huge understatement, Zev. You give Zev a dubious look. You and he are metapsionics. You each have the ability to temporarily transfer your consciousness into the body of another person. You cast your eyes around the room, trying to decide which person will help you to perfect your gift. The departure lounge is crowded with excited American holiday makers, European tourists returning home, tired businessmen eager to return to their families, teenagers with weighty backpacks. After a few moments, you settle on 3 people that you might inhabit. A man in a suit reading an Italian newspaper, a woman traveling with her 2 energetic young sons, one of the airport's staff, and a woman behind a desk in front of the boarding gate. So, whose mind are we going to violate? The man in the suit, the mother of 2, or the airline attendant at the desk? Vote now. Don't enter the number. You actually have to click the thing at the top. Click on the poll. Alright, that's a fairly decisive vote. We are going with the airline attendant. That's sure to cause no disturbance whatsoever. You and Zev approach the woman standing at the desk. She's typing information into the computer. She looks up at you and smiles as you near her. Hello, can I help you with something? Yes, you say. Could you please tell me what that sign means? You point toward a sign at the other end of the room. Her gaze follows your finger. As it does, you reach across the desk and touch the back of her hand. Transferring your mind into another's body demands physical contact. The movement of your consciousness takes only a moment as your thoughts and being stream through the point where your hand touches the airline attendants. Your vision fades to brown and then black, and yet in that same second you jerk into wakefulness. The departure lounge around you remains unchanged, yet you have a clearer perception of the ambience within the room, the moods of those waiting for their flights. As if you have stood in 100 such rooms, you realize. You look down at your hands. Your fingernails have grown long, filed, smoothed, varnished. Your own body is still here, unconscious, or rather lacking consciousness. As your mind poured into the airline attendant's body, Zev was quick enough to catch you under his armpits. Under your arm. I'm okay. Before you fell down. Now he hoists you up on his shoulders. To all appearances, your body is simply that of a youngster sleeping in the arms of his father or a family friend. Zev gently sets down your body, your home body, on a chair in front of the airline attendant's desk. This is totally about violating people. That is what this is mainly about. Then he turns back to you. Nicely done. Can you tell me the name of your host's body? You think for a few moments. Yes, I know that. It's, Melanie Craven. The knowledge comes to you instinctively. She's not married, but she's in love with someone. Yet, no. I see his face, sort of, but I can't think of his name. Yeah, this is basically Mind Jack meets X-Men. That's okay, says Zev. You're doing well. What about the rest of Melanie's family? Again, you think, but ultimately just shake your head. I don't know. Sorry. Don't worry, it's normal. What about this computer? Do you know how to use it? You look down at the fat plastic buttons. Kind of, you answer. I could access the passenger list or maybe get a timetable of flights, but it's not completely clear to me. Once more, you look out through the lounge's tall windows, out into the night and down at the runway below. A tingle like a faint jolt of electricity seems to pass across your forearms. For a few moments, little white and blue dots haunt the edges of your vision. I'm starting to get the prickles again, you tell Zev. This tends to happen any time you inhabit a host body for more than a minute or two. Already? Zev seems surprised. That's probably because you're tired. Switch back to your own body. It's almost time for us to board, anyway. You round the attendant's desk and look down at your home body. You think back to the question Zev asked a few minutes ago. What do you see? Looking down at your home body sprawled unconscious on one of the lounge's seats, your head tilted back, your mouth slightly open, you see nothing more or less than an 8-year-old child. So we're 8 right now, chat. We are collectively 8. Who will spend the next few years living in most unusual circumstances. And with that, a stray thought passes through your mind. A strange presentiment that, and yet of course I know it's to come. This all happened once before, years and years ago. You push away the curious idea. A strip light flickers overhead and you glance up at it, and then back down at your comatose form. How would you describe the child who lies before you? So, we've got a few options here. This will determine our gender, and also other stuff. So there are way too many options. Let me see how many things I can add on the hitbox poll. Alright, well, I can add one for all of these. So that's one. Why don't we decide if we're a boy or a girl first? And then, so just vote 1 or 2. 1 for boy, 2 for girl. Or you know what? Let's just use the custom thing, and then we'll... Yeah. So, are we a boy or a girl? This is a lot easier. Thank you, me. Boy or girl? Oh my goodness. We may have an upset. Oh, we're very close. 6-5. Boy is winning. Is the boy going to win? Closing vote in 5 seconds. I'm going to give us 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. Okay. We are a boy, chat. And we're going to kiss all the boys, too. Do we want to describe our physical appearance? Any ideas, chat? What do we look like? What kind of appearance do we have? I'm just going to put those together and say we are 7 feet tall, and we are fat, and we're pale. Oh, yes, and we have a neck beard. You reach forward and place a finger against the wrist of your own body. In a moment, your consciousness pours through the physical connection into your home body. Compared with the sensation of inhabiting other hosts, it is a feeling of being welcomed. Yes, while 8 years old. We are 7 feet tall while 8 years old. It's even more impressive than bully, maybe. I mean, well, nothing is more impressive than bully. What am I saying? Excuse me. I am getting over the flu, so I may do something like that. Where was I? Compared with the sensation of inhabiting other hosts, it is a feeling of being welcomed and utterly familiar with yourself. Your eyes are still closed. You open them. Your previous host stands before you, looking a little bewildered. We just, fucked with her brain, that's all. That's nothing for you to be concerned about, says Zev, sitting beside you. When you only briefly inhabit somebody like this, when their immediate environment doesn't change the whole time you're within them, the mini blackout the host experiences feels like nothing more than their mind wandering off for a minute or two. You know, that feeling of, what did I just come over here for? Zev grins, then says, come on, it's nearly time for us to board. You'll need this. He passes you an American passport. So yeah, we just mind raped her. It's not a big deal. She'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You check your photo and the information beside it. It says here my name is Samuel Aronovich. I'm supposed to be your son? Adopted, says Zev. I have the documentation to prove it, too. It's all fake, of course, but it's a good fake. Good enough to get us on that plane, at any rate. You reread the information on the passport. Samuel, you say out loud, tasting the name. No, you don't care for it. What is your real name? We can choose from these, but I think this is the only real option. So, suggestions. What are we choosing? We can't be bully. That would be cheating. Nothing would stand a chance. Okay, so let's do a little vote, and I'm going to say option 1 is Hoku-chan, option 2 is Killy Demise, option 3 is Cranston, option 4 Hugs Mantooth. I'm just picking out what I'm saying here. Alright, well, I can't scroll up in the chat, so those are going to be the options. So, option 1, I already forgot. I'm good at this. Hoko-chan was 2. Hoko-chan is 2. Let me see if I can get this to scroll off. No, I can't get it to scroll up. I'm not sure why. Oh, now I can. There we go. I got it to scroll up. Okay, number 1, Hoku-chan. Number 2, Killy Demise. Number 3, Hugs Mantooth. Let's just do those 3, or I will forget. Okay, looks like we are playing as Killy Demise. That is number 2, right? Okay, yep. Killy Demise. Hello, Kitsune. Nay, Kitsune. I can pronounce words. Indeed it is. A man now stands at the ticket desk, checking tickets and passports. Zev goes ahead of you and waits for you at the entrance to the jumbo jet. You show the new airline attendant your ticket and passport. You manage a weak smile as he gives you the most cursory glance. Then he gives you a brief nod. You walk on and join Zev. We should get on the plane, Zev tells you, taking your shoulder and leading you forward. And yet, some impulse causes you to look over your shoulder, back into the departure lounge. Again, the strip lights in the ceiling flicker, and then, abruptly, half of them go out. Nobody in the room seems to notice, but then you see another figure. A man at the far end of the room, a head taller than anybody else. Although this man stands in the light, it is as if a shadow lies across his face. You can't clearly make out any of his features. But this didn't happen before, you think. The thought seeming to be coming from far away. Things are happening differently this time. Zev, did you see that? You ask. This man is... Zev pulls hard on your shoulder, and the pain shocks you. We have to go, he says. Now. The urgency on his face scares you. Zev pulls you along the walkway to the plane. The pair of you reach the plane's door where a smiling stewardess stands inside, greeting each passenger that passes her. Zev pushes you ahead of him, and you step through the doorway. And then the scene changes. Perhaps memories follow the same skewed logic as dreams. Suddenly, you are standing on a small island in the middle of a stormy gray sea. The place is a large rock in the water, essentially. A dozen sheep graze on the few patches of spiky grass that dot the island. A farmhouse, a barn, and a handful of small buildings stand in the center. But this island also houses the Node, the underground ex-military base that you call home. Some 50 meters from you, down at the edge of the water, there is a commotion. You spot Robert Riker, Professor Xavier Riker, and several of the psychics that live at the Node. The 2 Russian women that run the farm, Mrs. Dotsik and Mrs. Yerofeyev. Mrs. Dotsik and Mrs. Yerofeyev. Sorry, I have to do the Russian accent or it doesn't work. Forget the whole thing. They are hastily launching a boat into the choppy water. And then the memory of this day floods into your thoughts. A transport helicopter was struck by lightning and crashed into the sea a kilometer or so from the island. The people on the boat are going to look for survivors. You were 12 years old on this day. Some 4 years had passed since Zev brought you to the Node. You set out to join the others on the rocky beach, but then you feel a hand on your shoulder, halting you. Zev is here with you. He looks exactly as he did in your memory of that day at Chicago O'Hare, even down to the clothes he's wearing. We have to go help those people, you tell him. But Zev shakes his head, scratches his jaw once more, and points in a different direction. At the foot of a shallow cliff, you spot 2 figures in the sea, a man and a girl perilously near jagged rocks. The shape of the coastline has hidden them from the view of the group launching the boat. Yes, I remember now, you think to yourself. When this really happened, I was standing here by myself. Zev was down with the others. He was one of the ones who set out in the boat. Zev, I don't understand what's happening here, you say. Is all of this a memory? A dream? No, he answers. This is all a mental construct, a sort of mind fortress of your own creation. All of this, he gestures at the sky, the rock, the sea, is in your head. So, are those people down on the beach? So am I. But you are not alone in here, Killy Demise. An interloper is in here with you. He's trying to psychically burn through your memories. He's trying to destroy your mind. Zev sees your look of outright horror and says, That isn't important right now. This day is important. On this day, when this really happened, what did you do? And most importantly, if you want to save this section of your mind, can you do it again? You look again at the two figures, the man and the girl. They are both wearing life jackets, lying on their backs in the water. Both appear to be unconscious. They are quite far apart. If you can manage to scramble down the cliff that separates you without falling and killing yourself, you could probably pull just one of them out of the water before the storm smashed them against the rocks. Who are they, you ask Zev? The question doesn't seem at all out of place in this memory construct. Which one should I save? The man is William Doone, a metapsionic like you and I. He's a powerful psychic, and would make a great ally for the Riker Foundation. I think we can romance Zev. I'm not 100% sure. I know we can romance Annika. It was about to be mentioned. The girl is Annika Visser. We can romance her. She is the same age as you. Her particular psychic gift is a precognitive combat sense, though at this young age she is not yet a strong fighter. But it would be the right choice to save the young girl, wouldn't it, you say? What is right? Counters Zev. Let's now have a long philosophical conversation. Robert Riker would tell you that William Doone is the right person to save. In the long term, he could do a great deal to further the Riker Foundation's mission of protecting psychics from exploitation. If you possess the same level of idealism as Riker, that's something to think about. You take a step toward the cliff, but then Zev grips your shoulder once more. Remember, a metapsionic who shows kindness, really, who shows empathy, toward the people around him opens himself up, allowing him a closer rapport with his hosts. And yet there's also a weakness. Show kindness to others and you leave yourself vulnerable to psychic attack. Distance yourself from others, show them disregard rather than empathy, and you strengthen your mind against assault. Call it a philosophical choice. He pauses, then says, You know, the safest thing to do might be to run and get the others to help you. You look again at the group launching the boat. You're not sure that you have enough time to fetch some of them to help you. All right, what are we going to do? Do we try to rescue the girl, Annika Visser? Do we try to rescue the man, William Doone? Or should we run to the others and try to get help? What are we going to do? I mean, if we want to kiss all the boys, we should probably rescue William Doone, but I don't know. We could have a waifu. Waifus are nice. Well, the moral dilemma is just two people, and you can only save one of them, and it would, you know, who has the right to choose and all that. We have a tie, so I'm going to ask those who voted for option 3 to vote for either 1 or 2. 3 is out, so just 1 or 2. You can change your vote, I think. Can you not change your vote? I think you can change your vote. I mean, no one is changing their vote if you can. No, guess you can't. Okay. Redo that. So just 1 or 2. And, of course, at least one person voted for 3. I knew that would happen. Okay. Number 2 with 7 votes. We are rescuing William Doone. Gotta kiss all the boys. You scream for help as you sprint toward the cliff, but you don't even pause to check whether the group down by the beach have heard you. Then you half climb, half slip down the cliff, grazing your hands and cutting your knees when you land hard on the rocks at the water's edge. Undeterred, you reach out and manage to snag the man's foot. Though he's heavy, you manage to drag him up onto a flat stone just before a strong wave would have carried him onto a jagged protrusion. His eyes remain closed, but his mouth moves as though he's trying to speak. You lean in close to hear what he wants to say, but all of a sudden he stops and his face goes slack. A short way down the beach, that same strong wave lifts Annika Visser and smashes her down into a cluster of stones. She lies there, face down, a pool of blood forming around her head. Good choice! Robert Riker and the psychics further along the beach have heard your shouts. They appear at the head of the cliff and quickly descend, helping you with the person you saved from the rocks. Actually, she's not dead, but she does have, like, she's fucked up. I'm spoiling that because you find out in really soon. It is in our head, but they're actual memories. And we're trying to remember, like, what we actually did the first time or something like that. It's just a plot device to get you to go over all these memories and make these choices and make it slightly more exciting. What is the girl's armpit size? That is an excellent question. I am not sure. I would need to measure it. Robert Riker and the psychics further along the beach have heard your shouts. They appear at the head of the cliff and quickly descend, helping you with the person you saved from the rocks and the person you didn't. And then, standing at the top of the cliff, you spot that same figure that you saw at the airport, that man whose face is indistinct, always obscured by a shadow with no source. He ignores the activity around you, staring down at you. It seems you will crumble under the weight of his gaze. But then, mercifully, the stony beach opens up beneath you, and you fall down through the earth, down to safety and the only home you have ever known. You stand in one of the windowless half-pipe tunnels of the node, your home. Somewhere, far above you, it's the Batcave / Xavier's mansion. Somewhere far above you is a banging and a roar that might be the wind, although if that's true, the wind must be fierce indeed. Never before have you heard the noise of a gale so far below ground. Whatever it is, you decide it's nothing you need to worry about. For now. And again, that distant, bothersome thought comes to you. This is memory. This is illusion. You are no longer 9 years old, but an adult. Something unwholesome is threatening you, forcing you to take refuge in the past. You wander along the corridor, passing the glass-fronted infirmary. The interior of the infirmary is dark. You see only your reflection, backlit by the red nighttime nightlight. Excuse me. As I said, still getting over an illness. Might make some gross noises. Apologies. Backlit by the red nighttime lighting of the node. Seeing yourself, you realize that another leap has taken place within your memory. You are 18 years old, almost ready for your first external assignment as an operative of the Riker Foundation. Have you changed in the years that have passed since childhood? Not really. Or yes. Did we change? Have we changed? Are we a new person now? Are we wearing a Killer Man outfit? We might have shrunk. That's true. So we have changed. How have we changed? How have we changed, in fact? Suggestions. How have we changed? I wish I could give us a sweet cyber arm and a fake laser eye, but the story doesn't want us to have those. So we have become more tactical, and we are wearing a Killer Man costume. You continue further up the tunnel and find a spot to wait in near complete darkness. You shouldn't be out of bed at night, and it's already well after midnight. But you promised Annika you'd meet her here. She had something important to show you, she said. But the details come to you now. 6 years have passed since you pulled William Dune from the sea around the node, and since you allowed Annika to be smashed into the rocks. She didn't die that day, but several months passed before she was allowed to leave the node's infirmary. One of her injuries remains with her still. A livid scar marks the right side of her face from her temple to her neck. Most of the time, Annika styles her hair so the scar is barely visible. You know it makes her profoundly self-conscious about her appearance. You start to think Annika isn't coming. Maybe one of the node's instructors came across her and sent her back to bed. Or maybe she never had any intention of meeting you. It wouldn't be unlike her to play a joke on you. Actually, if you choose to save her, she doesn't have the scar. And something totally different happens to William Dune, I think. You've just about decided to go back to bed when you feel something sharp press against the small of your back. A voice behind you hisses, "Your money or your life, pilgrim." You spin around. It's Annika, a big smile on her face. Did I ever tell you how I got these scars? I fell off a cliff and hit the rocks and almost bled to death. That's how, okay? "Scared you, didn't I?" she says. "You didn't scare me at all," you tell her. "And don't say pilgrim at the same time as your money or your life. One is typical of a cowboy and the other a highwayman. Together they just sound cretinous." Annika shrugs, indifferent. "So, you want to see something special?" she asks. "You really do have something to show me?" "I really do?" She leads you to Robert Riker's office. There's no light from inside the room. "It's in here," she says. "Riker doesn't keep his office locked?" you ask. "Of course he does. I have a duplicate key." "How on earth did you get that?" But Annika doesn't answer you. Instead, she opens the door and slips inside. You follow her, closing it behind you. For a few moments, you stand in darkness. Then, Annika switches on a desk lamp. At once, you see what she's found so special. Riker's desk is covered in toys and gadgets. Toys! Yes! We can play! This is going to be so fun. Aren't we like 18 at this point? Binoculars, a baseball mitt, a computer, comic books, and so forth. Like how Professor Xavier has comic books. I mean, I guess that's kind of appropriate. "Riker's been shopping on the mainland," says Annika. "These are the young ones' Christmas presents." You smile, lifting a plastic sword from the table. "Father Christmas came during the night," you say, echoing Riker's words to you that first Christmas you spent at the Node. For a non-Christian, he really did like to go all out at Christmas. "He still does," says Annika. "I was 12 when I had my first Christmas here. He gave me a G for my judo classes." "Nice," you say. "That was a good choice for you." "What did he give you your first Christmas here?" asks Annika. "A non-Christian. Damn those non-Christians and their war on Christmas. So what did he give us? Our first Christmas at the Node. An air rifle." I say, "Riker knew that a weapon would appeal to me. He gave me a magic kit. He knew it would appeal to my mischievous side. A big, bulky cell phone. Even though reception at the Node was terrible, he knew I was happiest if I always had somebody to talk to. A computer. Riker knew that sort of thing fascinated me." And in vote. Alright, we got a narrow win. Number 4, we got a computer. Yes, a non-working computer to symbolize our loneliness. You are still examining the gifts when the door to the office opens and the light flicks on. Robert Riker is standing in the doorway, holding a mug of hot chocolate. He seems surprised and not a little annoyed to find you in his office. "Well, I suppose you're old enough to know the truth about Father Christmas, at least," he says. "Tell me, how exactly did you get in here?" Annika holds up her key. He takes it. "We'll discuss this another time, Miss Visser," he says. "For now, please go to the gymnasium. I believe Mr. Aronovich has a task for you down there." "Now, in the middle of the night?" Riker nods. Annika heads for the door. You start to leave with her, but Riker says, "Not you, Killy Demise. As you're already here, I'd like to have a brief talk with you. I'll send you down to join Miss Visser shortly, don't worry." Annika gives you a curious look and then leaves. Riker sits behind his own desk. You remain standing. Then Riker says, "The purpose of this facility is to create an army of psychic operatives, ready to work and to fight to protect the interests of every psychic all around the world." Yes, the snobbish, non-specific Englishman. There's actually a reason for that. It's an RP, received pronunciation accent, and it's artificial. They created it. It's for the upper class to use, so that's why it's snobbish. "Very soon you'll be joining that army. How do you feel about that? Are we excited, impatient, ready, or truthfully a little afraid?" We are impatient. Very impatient. Let's get going. Let's do this thing. Riker takes a sip of hot chocolate and nods at your response. Excuse me. Then he asks, what is the Riker Foundation's greatest asset? The fantastic psychic abilities of its members. The dedication of its members. The young psychics, its greatest asset is their potential. Stealth, discretion, Metal Gear. The visionary leadership of its founder. So what is it? Stealth. Yeah, I'd be surprised if that didn't win. We are a stealth expert, chat. Killy Demise, stealth and discretion expert. Riker smiles. Good. Yes, discretion is our greatest asset. Invisibility our greatest strength. Why else would we choose to live in a claustrophobic, antiquated bunker? One day the public will learn of the existence of psychics. And then, human nature being what it is, conflict will follow. A conflict that, as it currently stands, we would lose. Perhaps our most important mission is to hold off that day for as long as possible. Why, you ask? To allow our numbers to increase. To allow psychics to excel in every strata of every society. I envisage a time when people will turn on their television. Excuse me. Sorry. I had a cough coming there. Tried to warn you about it, and I failed. Okay. Good job, mate. Alright. And my head just sort of exploded. Where was I? I envisage a time when people will turn on their television, and they will watch Hollywood. Yes, that happened in character. Riker just suddenly went crazy. We'll watch Hollywood actors who are psychic, NBA basketball players who are psychic. I foresee a time when society will contain psychic doctors, psychic entrepreneurs, psychic journalists. When the public learns of the existence of psychics, I want them to realize that the psychics include their neighbors, their friends, even their family members. And so, act discreetly for now. Move silently. Never draw attention to who you are and what you can do. Then, suddenly, Riker asks, is the Riker Foundation the only dedicated network of psychics? You honestly have no idea. So what do we say? We don't know. We know that we don't know. But do we say to the best of my knowledge, yes? Or do we admit we don't know, but we find the idea unlikely? Unanimously, too. We are honest to a fault. Riker gives a rueful frown and says, I can think of at least 4 others, although 2 of those have ceased to exist in any meaningful form. The Riker Foundation is certainly the biggest such network. It has the best resources. Our main competitor, I suppose, is called Orpheus. The Organized Resistance for Perpetuating Human Existence Under Sanctions. I love acronyms. Their philosophy is rather different to our own. They consider themselves freedom fighters of a sort. Them against the whole non-psychic world. Cough, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, cough. Whereas we strive to fully participate in non-psychic human society, Orpheus seeks to control society, either by manipulating psychics or placing their own people in positions of power. That said, their methods are similar to our own. They work with small groups of operatives in the field. Perhaps you'll encounter them from time to time. Riker pauses, taking another sip of hot chocolate, then says, a theoretical question now. A television journalist has absolute proof of the existence of psychics. He plans to present this information on international news stations. You beg him not to, but he laughs. The only way you'll stop me spreading this story is by putting a bullet in my head, he says. My question is, Would you kill the man to stop him spreading this information? Would you put a bullet in his head? Please, be truthful. All right. So, should we tell our boss that we are willing to murder? Or not? Of course, I'd have to. Only if I were absolutely certain there was no alternative. No, there's always another option. I'll find some other way somehow to stop him. No, I couldn't. Perhaps I could kill a man in self-defense, but not for this. We have a tie. Oh, no, we don't have a tie anymore. Okay. We're going with number 4. We just don't have the heart to do it. Not number 4. We're going with number 3. I misread the thing. Never mind. Sorry. No, there's always another option. Your compassion for others is a strength, says Riker. But sometimes you'll have to step outside the boundaries of comfortable behavior. There is no back button, and that is intentional. There's stats and everything. Yeah, I'll show you this. Right now, we are at deadliness 10, hacking 70, so they want you to start over if you screw up. Yeah, you can screw yourself out of certain endings and all kinds of stuff like that. So you are not intended to be able to go back. Yeah, sociability, trickery, hacking, psyche, empathy. So, like, if we raise our empathy, then we lose disregard, raise individuality, lose idealism, discretion, notoriety. And then we can also, we'll have various people that we mind rape, and we can see their physique, beauty, and vitality. The stats don't come into play that often, but yeah, the Dragon game was made by the same people. Or, it's published by the same people anyway, different writer. Then Riker says, another hypothetical. There are many indications that psychic gifts can be transmitted through heredity. The presence of psychic abilities can, at least, if not the exact nature of those abilities. Choice of Dragon. It's a choose-your-own-adventure game where you play as a dragon, and it's pretty good. Imagine that I ordered you to conceive a baby with a psychic partner of my choosing, so you might produce powerfully psychic offspring. Would you agree to do so? So, would we agree to have sex with someone because her boss told us to so we can have superpowered babies? Yes, we would. The duty might well be distasteful, but it could grant us a considerable tactical advantage. I might, depends who you choose, they gotta be hot. Gotta kiss all the boys, though. I doubt I comply with that order. A polite request accompanied by a substantial cash bonus might be more effective. I'm afraid not. I don't consider my duties to lie in that area, and go to hell, Riker. We have a tie right now. Okay, we don't have a tie anymore. So that is number 5. Go to hell, Riker. Riker smiles. I suppose your response tells me everything I needed to know. Just so you know, I've never in my life made this kind of breeding demand of somebody working with me. Now, 1 or 2 more questions. Where is this island that houses the node? He asks. I don't know, you answer. Very few do, I understand. Very, very few. Riker confirms, emphasizing the words. But you have suspicions, no? Maybe in Russian territorial waters, maybe somewhere off Scandinavia, certainly somewhere high up in the northern hemisphere. Riker smiles, then says, Internal regulations, then. What is Protocol 81? Emergency evacuation, you reply. Probably most useful in case of a fire at a Riker Foundation facility. Protocol 12? Absolute radio silence. Protocol 157? That stops you. You have no idea what Protocol 157 might be. So, do we guess that it's a high-risk area? Admit we have no idea? Or do we deflect the question and say, surely we don't need to go through the entire rulebook? How tricky are we? Once again, Killy is proving to be a very honest soul. We've got no idea. I appreciate your honesty. Protocol 157 is initiated when there is good reason to believe an operative can no longer be trusted. All avenues of communication are severed, pending recall and interrogation of that operative. Riker takes a long look at you, then says, "Fine, we're done here. Unless you have any questions for me, go and meet Zev and Annika in the gym." So, do we have questions? We can skip these. These are like background stuff. So I'm going to do a vote. One is, do we want to ask any questions at all? Two is, do we just want to keep going? Well, first we're just deciding if we even want to ask any questions. I guess if you guys are just interested in finding out where William Dune is, we could just ask that. Yeah, Riker Foundation, it's basically Xavier Institute. Riker is not a psychic himself, however. He's not Xavier, he's just like the organizer or something. Everyone who's there, they're isolated, they're not told about the outside world or like where they came from or anything or how they got there really. It's a little bit shady. That's why this is, won't tell them the location of the node, because then if they're ever captured, then that interrogation stuff. There are different types of psychics. They've all got like secondary powers, basically. They can all mind jack, but then some of them can do other stuff too. It's X-Men. It's pretty much X-Men. So yeah, let's just go with asking William Dune. See what he says for that, because I actually don't remember. Or it's different, because when I first played it, I think I saved Annika. Riker goes quiet. William Dune does not agree with the principles of the Riker Foundation. He left us some time ago. Personally, I feel his departure improves this place. Looks like we made a great choice, guys. Okay. No more questions. Actually, you know what? Yeah, no more questions. You leave Riker's office and make your way to the gymnasium. The room that serves as the node's gym was originally intended by the military minds that designed the facility several decades ago to be a storage and loading bay. Its large sliding doors are standing open when you arrive. You enter and find Zev and Annika waiting within. "It's nearly time," says Zev. He crosses over to the gym's sliding doors. With some effort, he closes them and bolts them shut. "Time for what?" you ask. But you receive no answer. Annika is carrying 2 lengths of wood, 2 bow staffs, each a little under 2 meters long. She tosses one to you and you catch it in midair. Then she takes up a fighting stance. "I don't understand what we're doing here," you say. But you've received some training in martial arts during your years at the node, and you're reluctant to go up against an expert like Annika. "Defend yourself," instructs Zev. Annika swings her staff toward your skull. You block her first attack, though you have the impression she simply meant to put you on guard. She circles around you, a grim little smile on her face, and she slowly twirls her staff as she walks. Annika's psychic gift is a sort of combat precognition. When placed in danger, she can anticipate an opponent's actions even before the opponent has thought to make them. Coupled with her expertise in close combat and weaponry, it makes her an almost unbeatable fighter. So, are we resigned to the combat and we look for an opening? Or do we throw our staff to the floor and say, "I'm not doing a damn thing here until I get some answers, okay?" Jesus. These people. So yeah, we're doing that. Fuck you guys. Your staff clacks against the gymnasium floor, and at once Annika darts forward and jabs you with the tip of her staff. It strikes you in the center of your forehead, knocking you down and giving you a splitting headache. Zev chuckles. "Yeah, as much as I normally advocate pacifism, it's not going to help you at all here. I'd pick that stick back up and get ready to defend yourself." "Damn stupid training bouts," you mutter as you rise to your feet and follow Zev's instructions. So yeah, that was a non-choice choice. Annika suddenly lunges forward, feinting at your throat, and then sweeping down toward your knee. You just managed to parry the second blow, and then you turn your back to her for a half-second, trying to bring your staff about to whack her across the ear. Annika is just too fast for you. She blocks your attack with no great difficulty, then bangs the tip of her staff down on your big toe. You yell out in pain and limp away from her. "Hey, killy demise," says Annika, a big grin on her face. "Did that make you angry? Did it make you hopping mad?" Several more times you jab and swing at Annika, but she's able to block all of your blows. For the moment, she makes no further aggressive move. Annika's precognitive ability gives her a distinct advantage over you here, Killy Demise. Zev calls out, "You must find a way to redress that disparity by using your own psychic gift. I advise you to wait until she moves in close, place a hand on her, and then inhabit her body. One skin-to-skin contact is all you need, and even quick as she is, I'm sure you can manage that." So what should we do? Should we follow Zev's advice, refuse his advice, or try to inhabit him instead? That's a pretty clear vote. We are going for Zev. You duck away from Annika and grab Zev's wrist. You close your mind a moment, concentrating on allowing your consciousness to flow into Zev's body, but nothing happens. A sinking feeling comes over you then. Of course you can't inhabit Zev. It is impossible for a metapsyonic to inhabit the body of another psychic. It was one of Zev's first lessons to you, and you remember it now just in time to stop Annika's next attack by yanking Zev in front of you. So yeah, he was trying to trick us. Zev smiles as you dodge behind him. That's right. We metapsionics cannot inhabit the body of another psychic. Our gift is a powerful one, but it's one that puts us at a disadvantage when facing others of our kind. Right now, facing Annika, you have to disregard your psychic gift. You must depend on your innate skills and knowledge, nothing else. Then I've pretty much won already, says Annika. Yeah, he's basically just being an asshole. Why would he suggest that? I think if you do what he says, then he says something about how could you forget, like you must be really stupid to have been tricked by that or something. You and Annika spar for a couple of minutes more without either of you gaining a firm advantage. You consider what skills you possess that might allow you to beat her. Your greatest skill is undeniably your aptitude with computers and gadgets, but that's of little immediate help to you. You defend yourself as well as you can, but you can't prevent Annika from getting in a couple of good hits against your ribs. Hold on a moment, Zev tells her, holding up a hand. Then he approaches you. Your greatest talent is the manipulation of technology, Killy Demise, and so perhaps this is an unfair test. But tell me, where else do your skills lie? Apart from learning computers and repair and so on, how else have you applied your years at the node? Just then, a loud pounding rings out from the heavy metal gym doors. Something seems to be trying to batter its way through. What's that? You ask, alarmed. Ignore that, says Zev. Answer my question quickly and truthfully. Okay. Zev is being a little weird here. It's, seven things. Okay, add one more. My second greatest strength is my quick thinking. I'm okay in combat when I need to be. My lack of social skills is my biggest weakness, so this will affect our stats, obviously. My second greatest strength is my quick thinking. I'm sociable enough, but I'm a poor fighter. I'm good with people and okay in a fight, but my quickness of thought and my improvisational abilities are weak. I'm good with people and I think pretty quickly, but I'm a poor combatant. I'm a skilled fighter and pretty tricky sometimes, but my social abilities are lacking. I'm good with weaponry, and even when fighting unarmed, I'm fairly sociable, but I'm not exactly cunning. Or, apart from my technological skills, I have no standout strengths or weaknesses. I'm pretty well-rounded. And the winner is number 4 with 2 votes. No, 4 votes. Now, 2 people just voted. Good with people, think pretty quick, but we suck at combat. That's good, says Zev. You know yourself well. The battering against the gym doors almost drowns out his voice now. One of the doors begins to buckle at its center under the force of a truly terrific impact. What is that, you ask? Is there another way out of here? It's the interloper, says Zev, and it would be pointless to run now. We don't have much time. Conserve your mental energy, your innermost psyche as much as possible. It will be used up any time you inhabit a new host or when you must defend yourself against psychic attack. If it is ever completely exhausted, well, there's a danger your mind will shatter. Rest when you can. This will replenish your mental energy as well as your physical body. Okay, you say, glancing toward the door. Anything else? Yes. Don't neglect the training you've received here. Remember, your classes in infiltration, stealth, investigation. This measure of your espionage ability is the greatest indicator of your skill during the trials to come. Simply put, your espionage rating is a measure of your overall success as a spy and a field agent. Gather information where you can and spread misinformation amongst your foes. Know your enemies well before you attack them. Okay? What else? Nothing else, except a question, says Ev. What is the beast behind those cargo doors? And then the door bursts open, and you have your answer. It is a beast 4 meters tall. It is a man with his face eternally in shadow. It is a worm gnawing through your cerebellum. It is a man, his palm raised toward you, his mind biting into yours. You remember everything now. You are investigating a woman called Mariana Heckendorn, the president of a small independent bank based in Switzerland. Robert Riker received information that Heckendorn had recently begun to frantically exchange emails with various scientists, journalists, and politicians, primarily in Switzerland and France, on the subject of psychics, even on the Riker Foundation itself. The few emails that Riker has obtained speak of psychics in very veiled terms. It's not really clear how much Heckendorn knows, and how much she merely suspects. But she is influential enough to be dangerous to the Riker Foundation. If she were to choose to expose either the Riker Foundation or psychics in general, she has enough media and political connections to be taken seriously. And so you have traveled to France with Annika Visser and another psychic, Ruse Solar. Your mission is to investigate the reasons behind Heckendorn's sudden interest in psychics. If you determine that she is a risk to the continued secrecy of the Riker Foundation and of psychics worldwide, you are to take whatever steps you consider necessary to destroy all concrete documentation she possesses on the subject, and to shatter her credibility in general. Let's ruin this woman's life. The mission was going well. To get close to her, you inhabited Yoshi Kobayashi, a Swedish-Japanese banker in Paris on business and a close personal friend of Mariana Heckendorn. So my question is, what happened to Yoshi Kobayashi's business? Because he's a person. He was like living a life. But no, we just mind rape him and use him for our own purposes. Screw Yoshi. You were attending an evening dinner party at Heckendorn's Paris apartment, and you excused yourself from the dinner table for a few moments in order to take a quick look at Heckendorn's computer. And then, you ran into another psychic with the same mission as you. As you entered Heckendorn's office, you found a man in dark clothes sitting at her desk. You knew him from the Riker Foundation's hazard files. He was Siegfried Sale, an operative of Orpheus, a psychic with the ability to erase or alter memories. In Kobayashi's body, he shouldn't have recognized you, but he looked up from the desk, smiled at you, and said, "Killy demise! It's good to see you're right on schedule." Then he raised his hand, and the next thing you knew, all thought of him flew from your mind. And it seemed you were at the Chicago O'Hare Airport, waiting for an airplane that would take you to the Riker Foundation. But now you return to the present. You and Sale are still in Heckendorn's spacious study. 3 rooms away, a dinner party is in progress, and the people sitting around the dinner table have no idea of the psychic battle that is taking place nearby. Sale is a man of 40 or so, with thick gray hair. You sense his surprise you have suddenly become conscious of your surroundings. He expected you to lose your mind as he devoured memory after memory, but your mental construct has allowed you to repel his insidious influence. Now, Sale abandons all subtlety. The palm of his hand still raised toward you, he closes his eyes and concentrates on battering your mind into oblivion. You, in turn, concentrate on keeping him out. Zefiranovich once warned you long ago that to be open to the world around you, to be too empathetic, would leave you vulnerable to psychic attacks. Now, you experience the truth of those words. You struggle to create a mental barrier around your mind, but Siegfried's power cuts into you like a burning knife. At last, you manage to solidify the barrier and repel him, but the effort has cost you a great deal of mental and physical strength. You resist Siegfried's efforts. Shutting him out of your thoughts and straining with the effort, you take a step toward him, and then another. Siegfried, drained by the effort of trying to break through your mental defenses, suddenly swoons and falls forward onto... Oh, we got a man to swoon! Yes, we're making progress, chat! And falls forward onto his hands and knees. At once, the psychic pressure on your mind disappears. You leap forward and grab him. What are you doing here? You hiss, your voice low. The same as you, he says rather groggily. Keep your voice down, you hiss, preferring to make a discreet exit. How did you know who I was? But Siegfried doesn't answer that. He simply gives you a woozy smile. You curse. You don't have the time to make him tell you. Then you glance up at Hagendorn's laptop. If you can access the internet, you'll be able to download a virus that will transfer the entire contents of our hard drive directly to the Riker Foundation. But you'll have to crack our login password first, and that could take a few minutes. As you're wondering how to deal with the situation, the door to Hagendorn's study opens. Siegfried is super great friend? Okay. I'm not sure I understand, but alright. As you're wondering how to deal with the situation, the door to Hagendorn's study opens, and Hagendorn's 6-year-old daughter, Chloe, wanders into the room. She's wearing pink pajamas and holding a little white teddy. Yup, time to mind rape a 6-year-old. As you're wondering how to deal, Mama, she begins. And then she halts, seeing you gripping Siegfried, who is sprawled on the floor. If Chloe screams or runs, she'll alert the rest of the household. And if one of them manages to call the police, your life could quickly become very complicated. So what do? Do we leap forward trying to silence her? Do we hit her really hard to keep her quiet? A regrettable necessity. Or do we let her scream? I'll just talk my way through whatever happens. So, hang on one sec, just refilling my water. Be right back. Yeah, I know it sounds like that. I have a water filter thing. Okay. I'm going to talk our way out of this. Let her scream if she wants to. Let her scream! Okay. Chloe knows that the two of you are doing something strange and frightening. She doesn't move. Yes, nice save. It's filtered water is actually what I meant. It's a Poland Spring bottle thing. But then Siegfried speaks. Chloe knows the two of you are doing something strange and frightening. She doesn't move. But then Siegfried speaks. He says, "Yeah, little cutie pie." That's enough to startle her. She opens her mouth, and the scream that comes out is unlike anything you've ever heard before. The scream that comes out of that girl has a volume you hadn't believed possible. Louder than, say, the loudest pneumatic drill or a rock concert speaker system. That is a loud scream from a little girl. It physically lifts both you and Siegfried and slams you against the far wall. Oh, hi, Black Canary. Against the far wall of Hagendorn's study. It hurls most of the furniture in the room around you as well. The sound does not halt. It goes on and on. Nor is the scream purely noise, physical vibration. It is also a mental scream. You feel it clawing at your mind, your sanity. And then you understand. Mariana Hagendorn has become preoccupied with the existence of psychics because her daughter is a psychic, and by all evidence, a tremendously powerful one. And it's really clear to make the connection that when your daughter screams at the volume louder than a rock concert, that means she's psychic. And that totally makes sense. This happens no matter what, Titan. That choice didn't matter, I think. Sadly, this realization can do nothing to prevent your bones from turning to jelly, which is about to be the case. But then, as Chloe's psychic stream pummels you, you hear another voice creeping into your mind. "I can shield us and shut her up," it says. It's Siegfried. It is easier for him to speak to you with his mind than with his mouth just now. but I need to draw upon your mental energy as well as my own. Please, concentrate on helping me. You have little choice but to help him. You do as he asks. And Siegfried's plan works. Drawing on your own mental power, he begins to deflect the psychic energy emanating from the girl, and even to turn a small part of it back against her. The psychic scream lessens in intensity. You and Siegfried slide down to the base of the wall, although you cannot yet force yourself to stand. Dimly, you are aware that Mariana Heckendorn and a couple of the party guests have tried to enter the room, but the girl's psychic scream has forced them away. Well, I think they're, like, countering a psychic power that's being used on them, so it's kind of like physical contact, because they're already being psychically assaulted, so they're just, like, protecting themselves, or I don't know. It kind of makes sense. You sense that Siegfried's sail's own mental energy is almost completely exhausted, and then you realize you have a choice of strategies before you. You can continue straining to assist Siegfried, although that would likely blow out a part of your own inner reserves, causing yourself permanent injury. Or you sense that you could try to deflect the girl's scream so that it will only affect Siegfried, not yourself. If you are successful, you will take almost no damage, but Siegfried probably won't survive. What are we going to do? Do we betray Siegfried? Should we continue to help him? Or betray him? What do we do? It's a real more dilemma. Apparently this is not a real moral dilemma. It's really clear-cut. We are betraying the hell out of him. Siegfried turns his gaze toward you, his eyes widening in surprise as he realizes that you are accessing his own psychic gift in order to direct Chloe's scream toward him alone. A cluster of blood vessels bursts in his right eye and 3 of his ribs crack under the onslaught. He loses consciousness. He is seriously hurt, perhaps dead. But the scream recedes at last, its energy wholly spent. Good job! We killed the man, or almost killed the man. Chloe faints, collapsing in the doorway of Mariana Heckendorn's study. Her mother appears behind her, looking somewhat battered. None of the dinner guests have been left untouched by Chloe's scream. The scream has also demolished a couple of internal walls, you notice. Is she okay? You ask Mariana. Mariana checks the girl's vital signs and gives you a curt nod. Siegfried's bloody body is lying face down on the floor of the study. You leave him there. You can do little to help him now. It will not take the emergency services long to respond to this strange incident in Mariana Heckendorn's apartment, you decide. Even given that your particular psychic gift is a great boon in avoiding captivity, you prefer not to be around when they arrive. So what do? I'll go get help for Chloe, I tell Mariana. You should get out of here, we tell Mariana. This man doesn't work alone. Chloe is gifted like few others. You should be proud of her gifts. Or we just leave like a boss. Don't say anything. And the winner is number 2. You should get out of here. This man does not work alone. Oh, no. Actually, we have a tie. There's some last-minute votes there. I'm going to redo that one. Revote. We are still tied. Okay, there we go. Number 2, 6 votes. You should get out of here. This man does not work alone. Preoccupied as she is, she barely hears your words. Time is short. You push past her and leave the apartment. You leave the apartment building and flag down a taxi. One detail of the past few minutes is bothering you. How did Siegfried know your name when he first saw you? Annika and Rosa are waiting in an apartment in the center of Paris on Rue de Rivoli. Rue de Rivoli. The apartment is indirectly owned by the Riker Foundation. Your own home body is there too. Comatose is always the case when you are inhabiting a host. You call the apartment 4 times during your taxi ride. You try the personal phones of Annika and Rosa as well. There's no response. At last, you draw near to... Well, charisma is a lot more important when it comes to romance, and we are all about romance. So, it is a good choice, I will say. At last, you draw close to Rue de Rivoli. You see the plume of smoke rising from the apartment just a few moments before you spot the ambulances gathered around the base of the building. The street is jammed with emergency services personnel, and also with ghoulish onlookers. Leaving the taxi, you force your way through them. Then you spot a body under a white sheet on a stretcher. It is a curious sensation, wondering if your own body lies dead before you, and knowing that your spirit will soon die as well, if so. Before any of the nearby paramedics can stop you, you march forward and pull back the sheet. You don't recognize the blood-covered woman. Your best guess is that it belongs to one of the neighbors in the apartment building. A cry of pain diverts your attention from her. Rosa Solar lies on another stretcher nearby. Her face is ragged and torn open. One eye is covered with a thick compress. But she is conscious. She screams out as the paramedics around her try to hold her down against the stretcher. You dash to the Spaniard's side and leaning close to her. "Rosa, it's me, Killy Demise. Can you hear me?" She gives you a strange, one-eyed look for a moment, then says, "Killy Demise, they took your body. It was only a small bomb. They didn't want to risk facing us directly. Then 6 or 7 of them came through the door. They thought I was already dead. They ignored me, but I saw one of them carrying your body outside. You were okay, Killy Demise. Your body is out there." "Who were they, you ask? Where did they take my body?" But Rosa's single eye rolls up into her skull, and she loses consciousness. Chapter 2, Protocol 157. Rosa is loaded into the back of an ambulance, and you wonder whether she'll ever regain consciousness. Excuse me. Rosa is loaded into the back of an ambulance, and you wonder whether she'll ever regain consciousness. You spend a few minutes questioning paramedics, but soon learn that Annika is not present, either living or dead. Nor can you find any trace of whoever attacked the apartment. Seeing no further reason to wait around, you stride away from the crush of paramedics, police cars, and gawking pedestrians. Your homebody is missing, abducted. Do we want to take a break? We can take a break. You guys want to take a break? We could also break at the hour. Okay, vote for it. Number 1, break now. Number 2, break at in 15 minutes at the hour. Yes, number 3, break out and dance. Okay, break now. Break time! Okay, 10 minutes sounds good. So, yeah. 10 minutes is good. I think that's a good suggestion. I will go with that. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and buy ourselves a snack. Yeah! Yes, I'm going to do a strip show during the break. It's the only thing that makes sense. I could play some music. Let me pull something up.
Dr. Light created a super robot named Mega Man. Mega Man defeated Dr. Wily once. Now, Dr. Wily has created 8 new robots of his own. My name is Mega Man, and I'll do all I can to save mankind. Metal Man, Airman, Woodman, Flashman, defeated. I wanna be the one who fights for justice. I wanna be the one, got to be the one. I want to be the one who fights against you, Dr. Wily. I've been built by Dr. Light, a robot built to fight for what's right against wrong. I will save all of you. It's Mega Man Part 2. I'm dressed in blue. This is my song. Can't believe how much I fought. I beat your 8 robots. It's time you stopped, Dr. Wily. Ready, it's time to get set. Put on your blue helmet. This time we'll get Dr. Wily. Let's get him. Quick Man, Heat Man, Bubble Man, Crash Man, deleted. I wanna be the one who fights for justice. I wanna be the one, got to be the one. I want to be the one who fights against you, Dr. Wily. My name is Mega Man, and I'll do all I can to save mankind. My name is Metal Man. I throw metal blades from my metal hands. I dance around with style and finesse. Better watch out for these blades, or you'll end up headless. down, but I know that there's no chance. And I know as soon as you step foot inside that door, you'll fall victim to my metal dance. Battle till the break of dawn. You want to fight and try to be the one to bring me down, but I know that there's no chance. And I know as soon as you step foot inside that door, you'll fall victim to my metal dance. It's coming down to the hour of the fight. I was built by Dr. Wiley, you were built by Dr. Light. Let's see which robot's better. Let's see who built us best. Take the first shot, Mega Man. Let's put it to the test. You want to fight and try to be the one to bring me down, but I know that there's no chance. And I know as soon as you step foot inside that door, you'll fall victim to my metal dance. Ready? Let's go. We see you in the distance as your weapon glistens. We hold our breath, we wait and listen. My end has come and I welcome glory. No one will know the truth to this story.
The iron in my chest is not beating. It's burning, smoking, and turning. I know it's coming. I asked it here. And with it the rain and thunder, electricity. Everything changes tonight.
Crashman paces back and forth. Inside walls reinforced. Gotta get out of this town. Gotta take that Wiley down. Crashman's mounted to his arms. Locked, loaded, ready, armed. Gotta get out of this town. Gotta bring that Wiley down. Closer draws the final hour. To break Wiley's walls, you will need my power. But to your aid, an unlikely friend, programmed to fight till the very end.
Fitting death. My hands are gone, replaced by fire and intent, soiled in their conception. A whistle, an omen. The breath stops. Mine? Time for battle? Yes.
Crashman paces back and forth. Inside walls reinforced. Gotta get out of this town. Gotta take that wily down. Crash bombs mounted to his arms. Locked, loaded, ready arm. Gotta get out of this town. Gotta bring that wily down.
And so they fought. The clash of metal and grinding gears echoed across the night sky. Victory was at hand, but in the end, his will overcame the program.
Down falls Crashman. Down falls Crashman. Down falls Crashman. Down.
Skype karaoke sounds like a terrible idea, to be honest. I mean, if it worked, that would be fun. Down falls Crashman. I wanna be the one who fights for justice. I wanna be... Okay. I gotta close this break thing. There we go. I do not need to save you. Okay. Plane ticket paid. Wait, I'm not entirely sure. I'm paying for plane. Oh, pay for plane tickets so we can all do karaoke. Okay, I get it now. I got it. Okay, I got you. Oh, you're off to dinner? Well, I will see you when you get back. Enjoy your meal. Meanwhile, the rest of us will be continuing on as the break is over. So, let's start Chapter 2. Protocol 157. Rosa is loaded into the back of an ambulance, and you wonder whether she'll ever regain consciousness. You spend a few minutes questioning paramedics, but soon learn that Annika is not present, either living or dead, nor can you find any trace of whoever attacked the apartment. Seeing no further reason to wait around, you stride away from the crush of paramedics, police cars, and gawking pedestrians. Your home body is missing, abducted. Your consciousness cannot remain within a host body indefinitely. It's been some years since you've had a metapsionic tutor. Zev Aronovich left the Riker Foundation several years ago. And yet, using the principles that Zev taught you, you've been continually testing your metapsionic ability, trying to remain away from your home body for longer and longer periods. Your best guess is that you can survive within another person's body for around 10 days, tops. The first symptoms of extended residence within a host body will be hallucinations, of smells, of unexplained noises, even of pain. After that will come madness, as your mind becomes scrambled and you have more and more trouble differentiating reality and imagination. That'll be fun. Then finally your consciousness will shred and you will simply cease to be. Given that your body has been taken rather than killed outright, you can only guess that its abductor wishes you to remain alive for the time being. Regardless, you hope that he or she will display some common sense in looking after it. Without an intravenous water drip, it will die of thirst within a week or so. Given Siegfried Sale's presence and his knowledge of the bomb, you are sure that it is Orpheus who has attacked the Riker Foundation, even though such an overt move is uncharacteristic of them. Although the two networks of psychics occasionally come into conflict, these confrontations are rarely violent. No, Orpheus prefers to direct its efforts against civilian, non-psychic targets. You wonder what has motivated this change in modus operandi, and how widespread such attacks against the Riker Foundation may be. Sadly, Orpheus is almost as secretive as the Riker Foundation. You do not know where you might currently find any of its members. You decide to contact the Riker Foundation. Using the smartphone of your host body, Yoshi Kobayashi, you dial a contact number you have memorized, a number based in Pennsylvania, USA. The call fails to connect. You frown at the unexpected hitch, but you have memorized 5 other backup numbers just in case of unexpected technical problems. You call them all. Numbers based in the USA, Great Britain, Sweden, Italy, New Zealand. Every single call fails to connect. Yep. You have one other way of contacting the Foundation. You have previously set up an email Dropbox where they can leave messages for you. The Dropbox system is remarkably simple. It is a Gmail account, of course, it's a Gmail account, with a password that all the team members know. To leave a message, you type, this is totally secure, guys. This is the most secure thing in the world. To leave a message, you type the email as you normally would. When addressing the mail, you invent any non-existent email address you like. The first 3 letters of the address should indicate the message's intended recipient. If meant for one team member in particular, the last 3 letters of the email address should designate the sender. When sent, the email will bounce back undelivered, and so it won't show up on any inspection of email traffic. I don't think that's actually how that works, but maybe it is. I don't know. Using Kobayashi's smartphone, you enter the Dropbox. You find that one new message has been bounced back. It's invented because it's spy fiction. It's like a cool spy gadget. Is Gmail. I don't know. Its invented email address indicates that you are the intended recipient, but does not give any clue as to its sender. It says, Killy Demise. Severe security breach registered. Protocol 157 initiated with respect to all operatives currently active in that zone. Recall scheduled for 0100 hours. Address below. R. Below that is an address. Cross-referencing with the smartphone's GPS and verifying the location online, you see that it is a small I have no idea. I don't even know that word. I admit, I don't know that word. Club in the heart of the Bois de Vincennes, the forest at the eastern edge of Paris. Looking at the timestamp on the bounced email, you see it was sent just minutes ago. Smartphones are not the ideal tool for any sort of hacking unless you're in Watch Dogs, so the available information is limited. Yet you manage to find that the email was sent from a computer located within the Paris region. As far as you know, the apartment on Rue de Rivoli was the Riker Foundation's only base in the area, but then it's entirely likely the Riker Foundation limits the information it gives to its field operatives. Pedenku, it's Patak. Patak? Patak! That's Klingon! Patak is a form of I don't know what that means either. Where the goal is to throw hollow metal balls as close as possible to small wood. So it's like a game? Oh, weird. Okay. If Protocol 157 is in effect, you will have no means of contacting the Riker Foundation. They will come to find you at 0100, nearly 5 hours from now, at the address you have been given. Your objective, first and foremost, must be to recover your own body. Quite simply, you will die if you don't. A secondary objective should be to make contact with Mariana Heggendorn. Her daughter, Chloe, is exactly the type of gifted young psychic that would benefit from the tutelage of the Riker Foundation, just as you did once. But your immediate next step should be to make your way to the I still don't know how to pronounce it, Patak Club in Bois de Vincennes at the time indicated, and allow the Riker Foundation to pick you up. Its resources are extensive, and it will be a great help to you in finding your own body. You only hope they don't waste too much time debriefing you. Your host body, Yoshi Kobayashi, was hurt during your confrontation with Siegfried Sale. Also, it disturbs you that Siegfried recognized you at once, even within a host. Perhaps it would be wiser to find a new host. Quickly, you spot 2 likely candidates. First, you see a late-evening jogger standing nearby, hopping from foot to foot, watching the emergency unfold. She is perhaps 25 years old, slim, rather attractive. Her casual voyeurism strikes you as somewhat macabre. And yet you have the impression that she will not remain long to gawk with the rest. She is eager to continue her exercise. Alternatively, you notice that one of the paramedics on Rue de Rivoli has wandered away from the rest of his group to make a phone call. He seems in fairly good shape. Having access to the Parisian network of emergency services could also prove useful, though inhabiting this host while his colleagues are so close by could be risky. So, who are we going to mind rape now? We just accelerated from mind fuck to mind rape or mind screw. I don't even know what it is now. The jogger, the paramedic, or do we stick with the wounded Yoshi Kobayashi? Number 2 is our winner. We're going with the paramedic. The paramedic has wandered into a side road so as to make his call without the clamor from Rue de Rivoli drowning him out. You catch a few words of it as you approach. No, I think we have everything we need. There's already one dead body on arrival, and a second died soon after we got here. No, I don't know yet. We've spoken to the neighbors, but the apartment wasn't used frequently. You're a polite soul. You'll let the man finish his call. In any case, doing otherwise might arouse suspicion from the person on the other end of the line. Then, when he hangs up, you approach him, cradling your wrist as though injured. Can you help me? The man's training kicks in. He approaches you, concerned. And then, when he's near enough, we betray his trust. You reach out and touch him on the back of the hand. With that touch, your thoughts and your very being pour through your fingertips. You, a creature of mental energy, only a disembodied mind, pass through the paramedic's skin. You infuse the bones of his hand, his muscles, his tendons. A moment later, you stream up his arm, through bone and marrow and muscle, and even blood. One moment more, and you inhabit every part of this man. You and he have essentially become one. Excuse me. I may need a moment. Anyway, this man's name is Benjamin Terrace. The name comes to you through instinct. At the point where your mind touches his, and when it does, you know it as surely as you know your own. He has become a pompier, a fireman and a paramedic, because it has been his ambition since he was a young boy playing with toy fire engines. He has lived in the eastern suburbs of the city his whole life. He is a supremely optimistic man. He loves his brother and his sister, and his mother and father. His work makes him feel valuable, like he's living a good life. But it's all a hollow lie. Yoshi Kobayashi is standing before you. He seems confused. He will have no immediate memory of his actions while you inhabited his body. Perhaps some flashes of those hours will return to him in time. For now, he simply stands before you, unable to explain the hole in his memory or how he arrived in these unfamiliar surroundings. Are you okay? You ask him. He looks at you but doesn't answer. You point past him up at the flashing lights of the ambulances at the top of the road. Perhaps you should speak with one of my colleagues. He nods and wanders away. Then another paramedic appears at the top of the road. Benjamin, he calls out. We found somebody in the apartment next door. Smoke inhalation. Come give me a hand. You hesitate, and your ostensible colleague gives you a strange look. You have no idea how to treat somebody suffering from smoke inhalation. What do we do? I don't know how to deal with this. There we go. Do we follow the other paramedic and try to bluff our way through the situation? Follow him, but try to make a discreet exit as soon as possible? Or, as devastating as it may be to his career, we just shake our head and walk away. Yeah, to his career. Let's screw up this man's life completely. How the hell will he ever explain that? Alright. Looks like we'll be bluffing our way through. You follow the other paramedic back to the apartment fire. His name is Vincent. The knowledge swims into your consciousness through the synapses in Benjamin's brain. He pushes ahead of you through the growing crowd of both emergency service workers and members of the public. At last, he points to a rather bourgeois-looking woman of 50 or so, lying on a stretcher, barely conscious. That one, he says, breathed in a lot of smoke while she was trying to get down the stairs. With that, he turns away from you, heading towards somebody else who requires treatment. You receive basic first aid training at the node, but truthfully, you have no idea how to handle a situation this specific. Of course, Benjamin will likely know exactly what to do if you can succeed in gaining access to his medical knowledge. So do we help the woman as best we can, or do we admit to Vincent we don't know what the hell we're doing? Okay. We help as best we can. We're going to do our best, chat. Sometimes the memories and skills of a host will come to you intuitively. Sometimes you must search for them. In these cases, you find that focusing on specific details often helps to unlock broader areas of knowledge. With this in mind, you close your eyes, letting your thoughts roam where they will. Shards of memory and the associated feelings that come with those memories begin to float into your thoughts. And then 2 strong images come to you. In one, you stand in the hallway of a house, a Labrador licking your face. I'm cool with that. In the other, you are lying on a single bed, your arm around the waist of a pretty girl. Oh, that's also a nice one. Should we concentrate on the dog or the girl, chat? This is tough. Dog or girl? God, I mean, dogs are really cute. I love labs too, but girls are pretty. They've got curves and faces, and I like girls. What are you gonna do? What are we gonna do? Yeah. Oh, no, we have a tie. Last minute vote tie. We gotta do this again. I told you this was a tough one. I don't know if we can romance the dog. I've never inhabited this host before. This is all new to me. The dog might, in fact, be romanceable. That would be great. Oh man, another last minute vote. We have a tie again. Let's try one more time. This really is a hard choice. I can't blame you guys. I don't know what I would pick. Okay. No, we are tied right now. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The girl. We're going with the girl, chat. It's all about the girl. All about those sexy, sexy girls. You remember the girl as if you'd known her yourself. Her name was Anne-Sophie. Anne-Sophie. And she was a trainee pompier, just like Benjamin. Benjamin wasn't in love with her, exactly, but it was almost that. The two would go on to break up shortly before their training finished. Anne-Sophie would score higher grades than Benjamin, but would work as a pompier for less than a year before getting engaged to a marketing consultant and becoming pregnant with twins. Then she would leave her career and choose never to return. And then you remember how Benjamin studied alongside Anne-Sophie, competed with her. You remember how jealous he was when she received her exam scores. You remember that he practiced the Heimlich maneuver on her. You remember that they studied together, the signs that might indicate a person was suffering from a concussion. You remember how they fucked. You open your eyes again. The woman lies on a stretcher before you, breathing only feebly. You hope you have gained enough of Benjamin's experience to know how to treat her. You touch your fingertips to the woman's neck and check the dilation of her pupils. Her pulse is a little weak, but you see nothing overly troubling. More serious is the shallow breathing. You wheel her over to the ambulance and tilt the stretcher so that it rolls into place in the rear of the vehicle. Then you press a transparent oxygen mask to her face, sliding its strap around the back of her head, and you adjust the dial on the oxygen bottle's pressure valve until she is breathing normally. She opens her eyes and watches you for a few seconds as you work. She says nothing and barely moves, but when she closes her eyes again and falls asleep, it seems she knows she is safe with you. You remain with the woman a few minutes, but you cannot stay with her indefinitely. At last, when the activity around the smoking apartment is dying down, you ask another paramedic to monitor the woman. Then you discreetly slip away. Almost 5 hours remain before you are due to meet operatives of the Riker Foundation in the Bois de Vincennes. You consider how best to use that time. Your host, Benjamin Taris, lives in the eastern suburbs of Paris, in Montreal, not so far from your recall point in the Bois de Vincennes. He lives with his mother. Her face comes easily into your thoughts, but you have to strain to find her name. Benjamin simply knows her as Maman, but at last her name comes to you. She is called Josette. Benjamin has had a couple of serious girlfriends in the past, women for whom he still has strong feelings. But he is single just now and focused on his career. You wonder if your actions since inhabiting his body might have damaged that career at all. As a pompier, a fireman principally, though he is also a well-trained paramedic, he has access to one of the city's He has access to one of the city's main fire stations. Though in truth, you wonder just how immediately useful that access would be to you. So you missed us inhabiting a paramedic, and that's pretty much it? We helped the woman, and we learned about some girl he dated before. Not much happened. A few hours remain before your rendezvous with the Riker. Yeah, a lot of progress. Right there, it's like laser loads. A few hours remain before your rendezvous with the Riker Foundation's recall team. Your thoughts turn to how you might most productively use this time. You might wish to recuperate and perhaps recover some of the mental strength you have expended so far. Oh yeah, we did kill a man. That too. Totally forgot about that. You might wish to recuperate and perhaps recover some of the strength you've expended so far. The easiest way to do that would be to return to Benjamin's home. Some risk is inherent in this option, however. If you should encounter Benjamin's mother, she is close enough to him that she may notice he's behaving oddly. It might be prudent to arrive at the Patak Club well in advance of your meeting to do a little surveillance of the area. Or you might simply wish not to get a good meal, kill an hour, or... I can speak. Or you may simply wish to get a good meal, kill an hour or two in a late-night bar, and then make your way to the meeting point at the allotted time. Benjamin is not especially rich, so you may not be able to enjoy the high life precisely, at least not without switching to another host body, but it may be the best way to keep a low profile. So, Ben's house, rest and pick up his car, scout out the club, or kill a few hours around Paris. Gonna tie right now. Waiting on a tiebreaker. Well, we know our body was taken, so the Orpheus probably has it. Rosa, the injured girl who was from our team, told us that they took our body, that it's okay, but they took it. Yes, taken 3. Okay. While I was talking, option 2 got another 3 votes, so we're scouting out the club. You arrive at the Body of Insane a good 3 hours before your 0100 rendezvous. You take a circuitous route through the woods surrounding the little Patak Club, but you don't see anybody suspicious. Just a man walking a bull mastiff, a pair of 19-year-olds or thereabouts kissing on a bench. Oh. And a couple of prostitutes wandering in the direction of the main road. The Patak Club is a small building. Takthreen? What? I'm just more confused now. Oh, taken. Oh, I get it. Okay. Takthreen. Yeah. All right. Okay, now I understand. The Patak Club itself is a small building. There's a gravel forecourt in front of the building. This is the space where the club members play Patak. A game that consists of throwing metal balls at a wooden jack. Oh, you know what? If I'd remembered that I read this story in the first place, I might have known that. Approaching the building, you climb up onto the lower branches of a tree. At first, you see nothing, but after about 20 minutes, you spot a dim light from within the club. A man exits holding a flashlight and speaking into a cell phone or walkie-talkie. You're far too far away to hear exactly what he's saying. And so, hey Pillows, what's up? And so, discreetly, you drop down from the tree to move a little closer. But just as you do, you hear somebody shouting, "Help! Help!" It's one of the 19-year-olds you saw earlier, the girl. Perhaps her boyfriend is mistreating her. You frown. The man at the club has brought a motorbike into view, and is climbing onto the vehicle. If you go to help the girl, you lose any chance to obtain information from him. Oh, what do we do? This is tough. Alright, so do we go toward the man on the bike? Or do we move away from the club and help that girl? So, Pillows, basically, we are an X-Man who mindjacks people, and we were on a mission. and a rival psychic organization found us. They bombed the building that was our base, and the two people we're here with, Annika and Rosa. Rosa was injured, and she told us that they took our body, and we need to get back to our body in 10 days or we will die. And we don't know where Annika is. So, that's number 2. We're going away to help that girl. Oh yeah, also we left Annika to die when there were 2 people hanging onto the edge of a cliff, and we had to save one of them, and we let Annika fall. So she's got a scar. But she's our friend anyway. So, that's cool. It's more like Mind Jack, the terrible Square Enix game. At a near run, you head back to where you previously spotted the couple. They're no longer there, but listening you make out muffled voices through a clump of trees nearby. You head toward them. Behind you from the direction of the Patak Club, you hear the sound of a motorbike engine. Getting information that way will no longer be possible, it seems. But at least you find the couple. They are beside a small stream. The girl, and you see now that she's 19 years old at the very oldest, is on her knees clutching her jaw. Even in the dark, you spot a trickle of blood dribbling across the backs of her fingers. Her boyfriend is standing with his back to her. He's holding his own belt in one hand, its metal buckle swinging, and the girl's cell phone in the other. You gather he's checking messages on the phone. As he does, he says to the girl, "Any other boys been texting you, bitch, while you were supposed to be spending time with me?" Neither of them have seen you yet. You don't feel inclined simply to back off and leave the girl to whatever fate this thug decides for her. And yet, though he's young, he seems in good shape. Beating some respect into him might not be so easy. So, do we approach him openly, perhaps with the intention of inhabiting his body? Do we get as close as we can and launch a sneak attack, or try to distract him in some way? Yes, Titan, the answer is charisma. Looks like we're going for the jack. "Yo, fella," says the guy, "now would be a really good time to back off." "I don't think so," you say, shaking your head. "Too bad for you," answers the thug and begins swinging his belt buckle. Getting in close enough to inhabit his body will be a little tricky. You decide to pound on him a little first. Not the belt buckle. It isn't the hardest fight. You manage to give him a decent beating, but not before he catches you across the temple with his belt buckle. The wound leaves you with a splitting headache. You help the bleeding girl to her feet. What happened to jacking him? Okay, I guess we're not going to jack him. Her boyfriend has dropped her cell phone. You pick it up and return it to her. "Thanks," she says, still holding her bleeding mouth. "Not a problem," you say. "Just, please don't go near that animal again. In fact, in future, maybe try raising the bar a little." That's a nice thing to say to an abuse victim. "What's your name?" "Marion," she says. Marion's boyfriend is still writing around on the floor. What's he writing? In considerable pain. You consider inhabiting his body, but to do so would be to experience that pain yourself. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. And so you leave him where he is and walk Marion toward the main road. She calls a friend to come pick her up, and you wait with her until that friend arrives. Once Marion is left, you double back and return to the Patak Club. The motorcyclist has long since departed, and the club is locked up tight. He had the keys to the place, apparently. Once you've satisfied yourself that nobody else is waiting nearby, you settle down for a long, cold wait. As you wait in front of the Patak Club, you see a set of headlights approaching along the access road that lead through the wood. As they draw closer, you see that somewhat unnervingly they belong to a black hearse. It parks, and you notice the vehicle is carrying a coffin, and for a brief moment you wonder whether that coffin might contain your own body. The car's engine dies, although its headlights remain on. You have thus far been unable to see the driver. Now the car's door opens and the driver climbs out and steps into the pool of light before the vehicle. "Hi, Killy Demise," says Annika Visser. "Interesting body you're wearing. So, are you ready to go home?" Dun dun dun! Chapter 3, A Friend in Need. Well, to be fair, she's like our childhood friendish person. It might be. It seems to be. I'm the operative responsible for your recall, says Annika, standing in front of the hearse. I'm to take you back to one of the Riker Foundation's holding centers. There, they'll give us both a preliminary debriefing. Once they're satisfied we're not a security risk, they'll ultimately move us back to the node. And the hearse? The coffin, you ask? Annika gives a little smile. That's how I'm supposed to bring you back. If you're locked inside, it guarantees the security and anonymity of the holding center. Something like that. And what's inside the coffin right now, you ask? Have you recovered my body already? She doesn't answer for a couple of seconds, but then she says, You want to take a look for yourself? And the email in the Dropbox, you say, the one telling me about the recall, you sent that? Not personally, that came out of the node. You know that Annika isn't quite being truthful. The email was sent from somewhere in Paris. Of course, it might simply be that Annika is misinformed. She isn't exactly a computer expert. How do you wish to handle this situation? Do we ask, what if I don't wish to be recalled right now? Siegfried Sale, an agent of Orpheus, knew about the apartment on Rue de Rivoli, I tell her. Do you have any idea how that might have happened? Or, I look in the coffin, or, fine, I tell her, I'll get in the coffin. Or, I open the coffin warily, ready for any dirty tricks. Choose now. Do you mean stream delay pillows? Alright, that's a pretty decisive vote for telling her about Siegfried. How'd that happen? And nothing I can do about the lag. Damn you, lag. Why do you think I have anything to do with Siegfried Sale or Orpheus? Asks Annika. Process of elimination, you tell her. I know I'm not the leak. Rose is missing half a face, and I'm guessing she wouldn't blow herself up just to maintain her cover. That just leaves you. But Annika shakes her head. That's faulty logic. I'm sure others in the Riker Foundation knew about that apartment. Any one of them could have leaked the information. Her explanation is frustratingly plausible. Do we look in the coffin or tell her we think she is lying? Yeah, of course she won't betray us. She's our friend. We only left her to die. Closing vote. Okay, number 2. We think you are lying, Annika. She sighs. So be it. Just then, Annika hops forward on one foot and drives the other up toward your face. You nearly manage to duck under her kick, but then she launches into a flurry of kicks and punches that you are hard-pressed to defend against. Sadly, you're no match for Annika in hand-to-hand combat. She lands a succession of solid hits on you, then a final punch to your cheek knocks you down to the ground. Rather than deliver the coup de grace, however, Annika backs off a few paces. Then, amazingly, she flashes you a smile. This all deserves some sort of explanation, doesn't it? This is all one game. I think I can guess the explanation already, you tell her. You've sold out the Riker Foundation. You're working for Orpheus. It's more complicated than that, she says. But you're essentially right. Did you plant the bomb on Rue de Rivoli? She pauses before answering. Then at last she says, Yes. You nearly killed Rosa! you say. She may already have died of her injuries. That was a miscalculation, she says, and I'll make sure the person responsible answers for it. I'm sure that'll be a great consolation to Rosa if she ever regains consciousness. I don't feel I've betrayed anybody, Annika tells you. The Riker Foundation has been manipulating us. If I've joined Orpheus, it's only to repay Robert Riker for his mistreatment of us. What mistreatment, you ask? Betrayed us how? She seems about to speak, but then stops and shakes her head. An explanation isn't enough. I have to show you. Come with me. We have your home body, and I can reunite you with it before the sun comes up. You shake your head, thinking, I don't know, Annika. You're not giving me enough to believe you. Please, Killy Demise, she says. I have to shut you in the coffin for a while. But when I let you out, I'll be able to make everything clear to you. Alright, what are we going to do? Fine, I say. Put me in the coffin, take me to your leader. No, I can't trust you enough to let me take you captive. I feign agreement to get close, then attack, try and launch a surprise attack. Or should we run? Yes, you guys are smart. There's no real choice here. I mean, it changes how the scene plays out, but the end's the same, no matter what. Yeah, she has battle sense, so she knows what you're gonna do. So surprise attack might not be the best idea. We have a tie vote right now. Actually, I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of things that can change. Even, like, really major things. I have to give this game credit. This just isn't one of them. Okay, by one vote, we're running. We're getting the hell out of here. Hey, you guys want to see the stats? Let's see our stats. We are 30% deadly, 70% hacking, 60% sociable, 50% trickery, 27% psyche. I don't know how to read this out, but you can see it. It's in front of you. And Benjamin, he's dark, tall, broad-shouldered. He's got a hook nose. He's only 55% beautiful, unfortunately, but 66% physique. You turn and sprint toward the brightly lit road that you see in the distance through the trees. Damn you, Killy Demise, calls out Annika from behind you. I didn't want this to be a messy job. She starts out after you on foot. If she were to drive after you in the hearse, you could too easily lose her in the trees all around you. You hurtle through those trees and through the dark as fast as you can. It is simple blind luck that you don't stumble over a root or into a ditch. Behind you, Annika is not so lucky. You hear her cry out, and you risk a glance over your shoulder. She has tripped in the dark. This buys you a small amount of time. 2 minutes of sprinting brings you breathing heavily to the road that runs alongside the rather affluent houses bordering the woods. You need some sort of vehicle in order to make your escape, you decide. I don't think I ever actually went this way. Maybe we can get out of the dead-end choice? So do we break into and hotwire a parked car, or try and flag down a driver? Ryan Michael Reynolds. Yep, pretty clear option there. We're hotwiring a car. You don't have much time for subtlety. You pick up a heavy stone and lob it through the window of a parked Peugeot 308. Its alarm begins shrieking at once. You get the door open and climb inside. Now you just need to disable the alarm in the central locking and hotwire the vehicle, all in the 30 seconds or so before Annika reaches you and pummels you unconscious. For somebody of your technical skills, this job is, well, not child's play exactly, but certainly doable. Ignoring the alarm for now, you search in the glove compartment and to your great delight find a couple of small screwdrivers. Within 10 seconds or so, you have managed to lever off the underside of the dashboard. You quickly disable the central locking and hotwire the car's engine. You drive off with the car alarm still blaring, that you disable one-handed as you drive. Did we actually get away? As you accelerate up the road, a motorbike passes you, heading in the opposite direction. You frown and glance up at your rearview mirror, and there you see Annika dart into the middle of the road. She executes a high kick, cleanly knocking the motorcyclist off the vehicle. With surprising celerity, she scoops up the fallen bike and leaps onto it, its wheels still spinning. She guns its engines and chases after you. You steer toward the city center. Your best hope of evading Annika is to get out of her line of sight and inhabit a new host body. It only seems fair to take advantage of your own psychic gift. After all, given that Annika's precognitive senses assisted her so much up to now, ideally you'll be able to find somewhere crowded where you can really throw her off your scent. Car versus motorcycle. Annika's bike, a Kawasaki, is both faster and more maneuverable than your Pugot. I really don't know how to pronounce that. Pugot? The advantage of the car is the stability of the vehicle in comparison to her bike. Annika doesn't seem to possess a firearm. The best she can hope to do is force you to stop. If she can pull you from the vehicle, she'll really be able to create problems for you. You were just considering this when Annika pulls alongside you, then swerves across the front of your car. Reflexively, you stamp on the brake pedal and turn the wheel, trying not to hit her. Yeah, good move. You aren't quite fast enough to avoid hitting a row of cars parked along the side of the street. This is turning out well. Stripping paint and wing mirrors from your own car and 3 other vehicles. The impact throws you forward and you bash your chest against the steering wheel. Accelerating once more, you steer the Pugot away from the edge of the road. Annika swerves away from you and brakes, allowing you to pass her. As you do, the wind lifts her hair, and for a moment a streetlight illuminates the livid scar that marks one side of her face. The scar she acquired that day you chose not to lift her out of the water around the node all those years ago. Forcing you to swerve was a gutsy move. It depended on you being fast enough to avoid hitting her as well as on your willingness to avoid her. It also might have seriously hurt you. Annika is not pulling her punches, it seems. But then, why should she, when she knows you can shrug off any physical harm by simply transferring to another host body? Yeah, why should she care about the life of the body you're inhabiting right now? Who would do that? You wonder what you'll do if she tries that move again. Perhaps the safer option would be to run down the girl that you grew up with. As you enter the city center proper, the number of cars on the road begin to increase. You steer toward the area around Saint Michel, just across the river from Notre Dame Cathedral. It is a touristy zone full of bars and restaurants and will likely be full of people even at this late hour. There, surrounded by a multitude of potential hosts, you need only get out of Annika's line of sight for a few seconds in order to evade her completely. Man, I had no idea all of this stuff existed. You turn left onto Voie Georges Pompidou, the one-way road that runs along the north bank of the River Seine. As you do, you find yourself driving side by side with a silver BMW. Just then, you hear Annika rev loudly. This is a long chase. Glancing back at her, you see she has mounted the thin strip of sidewalk on the far side of the road, and that she's overtaking the BMW beside you. She's very likely about to try the same move as before, you realize, except that this time she'll try to force the driver of the BMW to swerve into you. Forewarned, you may be able to brake hard and avoid any collision. Or, alternatively, you could just nudge the BMW into Annika. If the other driver can't turn, he'll surely hit Annika's bike. You'd be placing the other driver and Annika in a great deal of danger if the maneuver goes badly. One or both of them may be killed. But you'll be able to end the pursuit right now. Annika moves her bike into position, then glances left at the 2 cars. It's time to choose before she makes her move. Do we brake hard, avoiding collision, or push the BMW into Annika's bike? Okay, push that BMW. Push it, just like in D4. Do we get money? Annika is not pulling any punches. Neither should you. You steer into the BMW, grazing its front end just as Annika swerves into its path. As anticipated, the driver tries to turn, but blocked by your Pugot has front bumpers, Annika's back tire, once and then a second time. Annika loses control of the vehicle, the bike falls prone and jams under the front end of the BMW. Sorry if I sound really disinterested, this is a really long chase. Spraying sparks as the car pushes along the road. At least Annika manages to jump clear. She slams into the high stone wall that runs alongside the road. She falls down to the sidewalk just as she passes out of your view. The driver of the BMW panics and loses control of his vehicle. Now is the time for you to brake as the BMW wobbles into your lane and then back into its own. Finally, the driver goes up onto the sidewalk and spins into that stone wall as well. You see airbags blast open inside the car. Driving more slowly now, you peer into the BMW as you pass. Its driver is leaning forward, slumped over the steering wheel. He isn't moving. Yes, he'll be fine. You drive a little way up the road, and then you pull over, looking back at the chaos you've left in your wake. Annika is lying prone on the ground, some distance behind the trash BMW. 4 cars that were driving up the road behind you have stopped. Their drivers are checking Annika and the driver of the BMW. One of them is already on the phone, no doubt calling for police and paramedics. And one of the drivers is waving at you, indicating that you should come back. Fat chance. You climb back inside your Peugeot and drive away, already considering how you might find your own body. Chapter 4. The Jealous Nature of Love. Sleep comes to you at last in the early hours of the morning, and you dream of home. You dream that you see the node first from the sky. You're flying a helicopter in the dream. The sun is bright and the sky around you is calm, cloudless. From this high, the node is little more than a rock in the middle of a cold ocean. You pilot the helicopter nearer, lower. A farmhouse and a barn stand in the center of the island. You spot a few sheep milling around, grazing at the sparse grass that covers patches of the island. You kill the helicopter's engine, then pace across to the farmhouse. Those sheep that see you stop chewing, and watch you as they pass. You knock on the door to the farmhouse, and hearing no answer, you turn its handle and enter. Mrs. Dotsik, you call out. Mrs. Yerofeyev? 2 Russian women run the isolated farm. They're happy to turn a blind eye to the activities of Robert Riker's psychics. One of Riker's prime rules is that the 2 farmers should be in no way inconvenienced, and that above all, they should never be subjected to psychic abilities. You have often wondered how much the 2 women know about the true location of the node and the activities of the Riker Foundation. Without the use of psychic gifts, it's hard to be sure. They speak little English, and you speak only a few words of Russian. Perhaps the node is situated in Russian territorial waters, you reflect. But the nationality of the island's only 2 official residents is not quite enough evidence for certain. Neither Mrs. Dotsik nor Mrs. Yerofeyev is home today, it seems. That's curious, but then this is a dream, so you are not overly concerned. You make your way through to the farmer's pantry. At the back of that room, amidst a rows of cauliflower and potatoes and tinned cabbage, there's a set of steel double doors and a touch-sensitive keypad mounted in the wall. You key in the access code, wait for the elevator that will convey you down to the Riker Foundation's headquarters. The elevator arrives. You step in. What is the node? The voice crackles from the speakers mounted high on the wall of one of the node's gloomy corridors. It is Robert Riker's voice, you realize, but tinny, distorted. Riker? Can you hear me? You call out. What is the node? You frown up at the voice, and then you see a body lying on the floor of the corridor some 30 meters away from you. You dash to it and turn it over. It is Zeveranovich. He is quite dead. His body has been crushed. His legs are twisted, mutilated. What is the node? What is the node? Who is John Galt? The node is my home. The node is the operational headquarters of the Riker Foundation. Riker? If you did this to Zev, you'll pay for it. Any answer I give is meaningless. This is only a dream. Or just, we don't answer. We could just not answer. That'd be fun. I'm going to leave this poll running for a second while I take a quick bathroom break. I will return in a moment. All right. Oh yeah, we'll be kissing someone at some point. Don't worry. We don't need to answer that. We're a rebel. No more sound emanates from the wall-mounted speakers. Yet you feel a sense of frustration on the part of Robert Riker, or whoever is asking you these questions. You walk on through the node's dimly lit corridors. You're passing the younger girl's dormitory. Seeing its door ajar, you glance inside, because who wouldn't want to peek in the younger girl's dormitory? Robert Riker is there on the floor, every bit as dead as Zev. He has a bullet hole in the back of his head. The blood on his head and on the floor is dry. He's been lying there for some time. What is the node? Again, that voice, Riker's voice, crackles from the speaker. Hello, Kuro. You close the dormitory door and continue on. And then, rounding a bend in the corridor, you see a man up ahead, standing with his back to you. Arcs of electrical energy dance around the ceiling above his head. You raise your hand to block the light they cast off. You seem to recognize the man, although you can't quite place him in context. It is only when he turns toward you that you see his face. It is you. In your dream, the impossible has become possible. A metapsionic has inhabited your body. It's possible for the most powerful psychics in the world to exist as mental energy and nothing more, he says. You say, looking up at the arcing electricity. In such a state, they can occasionally be bottled if you know how. Though you shouldn't expose them to any conflicting sources of psychic energy. The results could be explosive. Who are you, you ask. A stupid question, he screams. Apologize, and I'll let you ask 2 more. Keep clinging to your pride, and I'll let you ask just 1. And so, we are now talking to our evil parallel self. Should we apologize to ourselves? Not apologize to ourselves? Or rudely not apologize? Gotta be rude. Gotta be rude. I don't need to ask you a damn thing. As you wish, he says. Your loss. With that, the intruder within your body takes a step toward you and places a finger on your chin. How many times have you touched a finger to somebody else and allowed your consciousness to flood over theirs, enveloping and suppressing every part of their being? You are a metapsionic, a psychic, and you have learned that one of the immutable laws of this gift of possession is you may never possess the body of another psychic. And yet, this time you feel this man's consciousness flooding into your own, for he is a man. Even within your bones, you're sure of that now. We've got a man inside us. Wow, this is great. He overpowers you, buries you, and you are powerless to stop him. And as your persona disappears, the dream ends. You wake with a scream. The sun rises into the sky over Paris, and you rub your chin and think about where you might look next for Annika and Orpheus. The messages you received from the Riker Foundation was a fake. That means they may have made a genuine attempt to contact you soon. Still, it would be prudent to find a means of contacting them first, if possible. As Annika and her Orpheus compatriots seem to want you alive, you should also expect a message from them, but you are reluctant simply to wait around. You must take the initiative if you hope to recover your own body. This is not your first time in Paris. You visited the city once before. Yeah, that was a dream. Zev and Riker are alive, probably. This is not your first time in Paris. You visited the city once before, 5 years ago. At that time, you had traveled to Paris with Zev, investigating suspicions that a telepath working for Orpheus was blackmailing several French ministers. On that occasion, the two of you came into contact with a man named Jean-Marc Ledoux, a mid-level fixer in the Parisian underworld. He helped you enormously. He obtained information about the minister's routines, security measures, and personnel that was invaluable in accomplishing your task, though, of course, you had to pay him very well for his work. You wonder whether Jean-Marc Ledoux is still active in Paris. You begin asking questions in casinos and bars that you know are suspected of criminal connections, trying to find a way to make contact with the man. Your host, Benjamin Terrace, has no particular aptitudes that make him well suited to the job of tracking down a criminal, but since criminals are a fairly ruthless, violent bunch, it is not difficult for a paramedic like Benjamin to quickly gain a firm sense of the dicier areas of Paris where the more serious thugs hang out. Honestly, it's not railroad. It's even more open-ended than I thought it was. This has not happened to me. This is all totally new to me. You begin to frequent these areas, presenting yourself as a doctor rather than a paramedic, asking after Jean-Marc. You even let the name Zeveranovich slip out once or twice. Hopefully that will gain Ladeau's interest. After 3 days, you obtain a result. You set up a meeting with Nelik No-Nose Novak, a man who assures you he can introduce you to Ladeau. Benjamin Terrace lives with his mother in the eastern suburbs of Paris. You decide it is wiser to avoid prolonged contact with somebody who knows Benjamin so well, and you raid his savings to pay for several days' lodging in a small hotel in the city's 10th arrondissement. You return to your hotel to rest a couple of hours before your meeting with No-Nose. You've grown tired of watching French news channels. You switch off the TV and sit cross-legged on the bed in your room meditating. You breathe more slowly, more deeply, using techniques that Zev taught you during your training at the Node. Over the last few days, you've become accustomed to the feel of Benjamin's psyche. Little by little, his stronger memories are creeping through. A long period when Benjamin was bullied in school for being lanky and somewhat socially awkward. Benjamin's pride at obtaining the qualification necessary to become a paramedic. The same week that one of his close friends was sent to prison for dealing cocaine. You try to reach further into Benjamin's thoughts and memories, your brow creasing with the effort. Yes, suddenly you see it. Benjamin's actions are predominantly motivated by his parents' divorce and the subsequent death of his father in a motorcycle accident just a couple years later. It's just all this information about Benjamin. All of a sudden, this is so much. Subconsciously, Benjamin still seeks to make his father proud of him in some sense, despite the fact that his father is no longer among the living. You feel tears filling your eyes. Being privy to such deep inner feelings can be a humbling experience. Moments like this truly make you appreciate your metapsionic gift. But you wonder if it is wise to open yourself so fully to the psychic experiences of others. You enter a trance-like state where your own persona and that of Benjamin interweave. You concentrate on mastery of your own inner resources and even on mastering Benjamin's own talents, which, for the time being, seem to come naturally to you as well. All right, what do we do? This is a stat gain, stat boost time. Focus on mastery of empathy. Raise our empathy, but that also makes us weaker, our defense weaker. The more empathetic you are, the weaker your defense. Or we can do the opposite, be less empathetic, or we can raise our knowledge in medical and physical instincts. We are going to be empathetic. We are the most empathetic Killy demise there is. It is done. You open your eyes, feeling calmer than you have for some time. You've arranged to meet Nelik No-Nose Novak in a little basement-level rock bar, the Black Hound. Amidst the handful of black-clad 20-somethings, Novak is easy to spot. He's the only one with a gaping ragged hole in the center of his face where a nose used to be. You sit opposite him. He's perhaps 45 years old, wearing a battered leather jacket. Scraggly, graying hair hangs about his face. No-Nose looks across the table and says, "You want to meet Jean-Marc Ladeau?" "Yes." "Great," he says. "Let's go." Oh, I forgot to give him a voice. I'll give him a voice. "What, that's it, you ask?" "Just let's go and meet him, then." No-Nose seems surprised. "You want more? You want to meet Ladeau? He wants to meet you too. Let's go." Perhaps No-Nose knows more than he's telling you. He has a Cockney accent. I don't know why he has a Cockney accent. He just does now, okay? You wonder if that might be simpler to inhabit his body, gruesome as it is, and try to take that information directly from his mind. Possibly the lack of a nose Gives him a Cockney accent, in fact. Should we try to inhabit him, or let's just go about this the conventional way? He might be a Psy. We don't know. Do we know? I don't think we know. Well, it's pretty clear whether he's a Psy or not. We're just going to be conventional about this. No says a black Mercedes parked outside the bar. You know how to drive, right? He says, tossing you the keys. Forgot the accent. You know how to drive, right? He says, tossing you its keys. Following his directions, the two of you drive out to the southern edge of the city. No-Nose tells you to stop the car in front of a derelict warehouse. I don't know why we're driving. It's a good question. Your feet crunch on bits of brick and broken glass as you enter the wrecked building. I guess, yeah, because he has no nose. You can't drive without a nose. Smelling is extremely important to driving. Your feet crunch on bits of brick and broken glass as you enter the wrecked building. Half the roof has collapsed, and the rest looks like it may fall at any time. Why have we come here, you ask? To dance, says No-Nose. Don't you see the nightclub? He switches on a flashlight, and then passes a second light to you. With them, you find a trap door in one corner of the room. No-Nose opens it up. A metal ladder descends into the gloom below. After you, says No-Nose, indicating you should go first. I keep just, like, switching accents. No, I'm not even... the two of you climb down, reaching a long, cramped tunnel that slopes down further still. As you walk along it, No-Nose says, a quick history lesson for you. I'm Scottish now. No, I don't even know. Christ, I guess I'm Scottish. Why doesn't he be Scottish? I'll be Scottish. A quick history lesson for you. The streets of Paris are just the tip of the iceberg. Below that you've got the metro tunnels, which date back a century or so. After that there's the sewers. Go lower still and you'll find the catacombs. That's where we are now. They were lime quarries at first. Hundreds of miles of quarry tunnels beneath the city. About 800 years ago, when the lime stopped coming up, and when the King of France noticed that all the cemeteries in Paris were overflowing with the dead, 6 million corpses were moved down here. More recently, in the Second World War, the catacombs housed the base of the resistance in Paris. They say the resistance base and the Gestapo HQ were only a few hundred meters apart, but the Germans could never find them. So... did we never figure him for a history buff? First impressions can be wrong. Oh, bye tea, cake, monster, monsters, cake and tea, and velvet. All of those. Good night. So we never figured him for a history buff, or this was just a short time after Colonel Fabian carried out his act of resistance against the Germans, so we're all smart and educated, or so none Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles. Right now, all three are tied at 2 votes. All three are still tied at 2 votes. Okay, now we have a tie between 2 and 3, both of which have 3 votes. So I'm going to restart that. It's... oh, no, actually, we got a last-minute vote. Okay, great. Going with number 2. Where are Smarty Pants? He ignores your comment and says, you know why people come down here these days? Why? No-Nose halts. In the sudden silence, you hear the faraway thump, thump, thump of a techno bass. These days, he says, people come down here to party. The two of you come upon a vast subterranean nightclub. It's the real thing. Gargantuan bass speakers, pulsating lights, and a dance floor heaving with well-toned bodies. There's even a bar, with 3 layers of people waiting to be served standing around it. And all of this under a ceiling of granite several hundred meters beneath street level. The rock amplifies the sound from the speakers. No-Nose bellows something that you don't hear, then points to an incongruous-looking doorway at one side of the room. You open it. It has about 6 inches of foam soundproofing on its far side. The whole setup is illegal, says No-Nose. Just not accent now? Okay. Great. The whole setup is illegal, says No-Nose when the doors close behind you. The general public aren't allowed down here. Safety reasons. From time to time, the police find an entrance to the catacombs and seal it off. Then the cataphiles just open up another. He leads you along a passage to another soundproof door. You pass through it, and there, in a little office with rock walls, you meet somebody you know. This man is Jean-Marc Ledoux. Half French, half Jamaican, neither accent of which I can do, unfortunately. He's wearing an oversized fur coat that seems faintly ridiculous on him and a pair of bulky DJ headphones hanging around his neck. You spot the glint of a gold tooth in his mouth. That's new. He recognizes you, or at least... Oh, did you need a plot summary? Yeah, so Annika, we're a part of the X-Men. Annika is also an X-Man, and she betrayed us and joined the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, apparently. Brotherhood of Evil Mutants called Orpheus. They blew up our hotel. Our other buddy, Rosa Solar, got pretty blown up, but she was able to tell us that they took our body. If we don't get back to our body in 10 days, we will die. We should probably find our body. Also, Zeveranovich was our teacher. He was our mentor dude. And other stuff. I think that's the big things. So, you spot the glint of a gold tooth in his mouth as well. That's new. He recognizes you, or at least he knows who's really inside your host body. Killy Dumpaz, it's damn good to see you again. He holds out his hand for you to shake, then pulls it back quickly. Whoops, I better not. I'm not as well protected against psychic intrusion as my friend No-Nose here. Jean-Marc Ledoux. So what are we going to do? It's good to see a friendly face at last. I'm thinking maybe we can find a way to help one another. Or, you run a nightclub now. Even an illegal nightclub is somewhat more legitimate than your previous activities. I'm glad to see you too. I have a significant problem, and I believe you may be the only man in Paris capable of helping me. Or, No-Nose is psychic? Do you have many of those on your payroll? Yeah, No-Nose is psychic. It's in exchange for his nose. He cut off his nose to give himself psychic powers. Alright, ending vote. Going with number 1. I think we can find a way to help each other scratch each other's backs. He gives you a wide smile. Ah, you read my mind, my friend. Perhaps that's another of your psychic abilities. Ledoux sits behind his desk while No-Nose lurks at one side of the room. I have a favor to ask of you, my friend, says Ledoux. Please, take a seat. In my rather shady line of work, information is vital, says Ledoux. I've seen very prominent, very intelligent people brought low just because they refuse to believe rumors that men and women with incredible psychic abilities walk the earth. Me, I decided early on to learn as much as possible about psychics, how to keep out of their way, and even how to make best use of their talents. I sometimes come across names like the Riker Foundation or Orpheus, the second group, Orpheus. They're holding something very important to you, no? And if they were, you say, might you be able to tell me exactly where they're holding it? Someone leaving? You done for tonight, Skull? Have a great night. Thanks for coming. And, continuing on. I might, says Ledoux. Then he halts and gives you a curious look. Tell me, Killy Demise, when it comes to the bedroom, are you more interested in men or women? Oh man, the romance is getting started. Do we like men, women, men and women? We actually like men, but we don't want to admit it. We like women, but we don't want to admit it. Or we like both, but we don't want to admit it. Excuse me, cough coming. You don't really get locked out of anything. There's one character's gender actually changes depending on what you're attracted to. Number 3. We like both. There's one of the choice of games. Every single character's gender can be changed depending on what you like. Me, I see beauty in the male and female form, says Liddell, lounging back in his chair. Though I have a tendency to choose my lovers poorly. Now I mention a favor, and I have a mutually beneficial arrangement in mind, but first I need to see you're legit. With that, he lifts a phone on his desk, punches a number, and says, "Bring in Harmon." A few seconds later, the door to the office opens once more. A man, Harmon, is shoved into the room by a couple of Liddell's goons. No-Nose gives the pair a little nod and they leave. Harmon is in his early 20s. He has tan skin and a sharp little chin. You see good muscle tone under his t-shirt. Liddell gives the man a warning look and gestures for him to sit in the chair beside yours. He does. Harmon here is an example of how my love overrides my common sense, says Liddell. I took this little bitch into my bed. Hell, I even fell in love a little. Now, I thought I made it clear to this bitch that he is mine, and mine alone. But then I hear whispers that Harmon likes to spread the love around, if you know what I mean. Now, I'm normally pretty good at sniffing out that kind of thing, but this little bitch is good at covering his tracks, so I can't be sure. Liddell pauses. Oh, good night, PSU. Liddell pauses, then adds, Of course, if a psychic like yourself were to get inside his mind, you know straight away what he has, or hasn't, been up to. Let me check that I understand here, you say. You want me to inhabit Harmon's body, just so I can tell if he's been cheating on you? Liddell nods. What I really need is a good mind reader, of course, but those are hard to come by. But a metapsionic will do the job just as well. If you're really a metapsionic, that is. Harmon looks at you, his expression unreadable. Alright, what are we going to do? I think we'll stop after this chapter, probably, considering quite a few people leaving at this point. So, fine. Against our better judgment, but we'll do it. Absolutely not. Idea's aberrant. Maybe you don't understand how my gift works. I can't necessarily access the memories. And what's to stop me inhabiting you? We are honest, that's true. We have been very honest. We've got a tie right now between 1 and 3, both tied at 3 votes each. Alright, ending in 1, 2, 3. Oh, last minute vote, and we tied again. Gonna redo this. Just choose between 1 and 3. Only vote 1 or 3. Okay, 3. We are clarifying how a metapsionic's power works. That's not my problem, says Liddell. I'm convinced you'll be sufficiently motivated to succeed. Well, he doesn't care. Fine or absolutely not. Yeah, pretty clear. We're going to do it. Let's do it. Excellent, says Ledoux. Whenever you're ready. Harmon gives a weary sigh. Just do it, he says. Resigned, you take his hand in yours. Your consciousness shifts from Benjamin through your fingers into Harmon, and you feel at once that this is a man who lives by his charm and his good looks, who moves from one party to the next, one lover to the next. Such a lifestyle has, on occasion, created problems for him. Lack of sleep, coupled with too much drink or drugs, has on 3 occasions placed Harmon in a hospital bed. Yet he does not fear this blissful nihilism. Rather, he welcomes it. Somewhere deep within himself he believes, rightly or wrongly, that he is in some sense a bad person, that in some way he deserves such physical hardship. Beside you, your former host is returning to some sort of awareness of this room, these surroundings. Nono steps forward and places his brawny hands on your former host's shoulders. You should probably finish this quickly before Benjamin begins to panic. Instantly, you are awash in Harmon's terror. He is afraid of Ledoux, but afraid of you as well. He knows nothing of psychics. He only knows, on some barely conscious level, that you are able to exert an inexplicable power over him. Is Harmon capable of cheating on Ledoux? Absolutely, you're convinced of that. Still, in truth, has he actually done so? You push your mind further, intertwining it more intimately with Harmon's, trying to access his memories. Flashes of older memories break through. Harmon's parents screaming at him, and his father in particular striking him. At times, Harmon felt his father loved him deeply, and yet most often it seemed the man despised him. Not because of Harmon's sexuality. The man was just as dismissive of Harmon's heterosexual brother and sister, just because. But these are old memories, and you feel unpleasantly invasive witnessing them. No, you must refocus your search. And there it is, a flash of memory of Harmon in bed with another man. A beautiful man. His name is Anthony. Don't worry, Harmon reassures him. I've made sure that John Mark won't find out about us. You cannot remain within Harmon. You're certain that Ledoux will not let you leave if you do. Your hand, Harmon's hand, is still holding that of your former host. With a thought, your consciousness switches bodies once more. Within Benjamin once more, you let go of Harmon's hand. Your eyes meet his. You know what he has done, and what's more, he knows you know. But what will you tell Ledoux? Ledoux is no murderer. He will not kill Harmon for his infidelity. He will mistreat him badly. You must also consider your own needs. Right now, you are depending on Ledoux's assistance to help you find your own body, without which you'll die. Can you risk alienating him, either by lying to him or telling him something he doesn't want to hear? And then another unpleasant thought. Ledoux mentioned that this is some sort of test. What if Ledoux already knows that Harmon has been unfaithful and is merely waiting for you to confirm this? Oh, what are we going to do? This is a real dilemma. So, Harmon has been unfaithful. He slept with Anthony. Got that Anthony. Just causing problems everywhere. He slept with another man, but we don't know who. We can leave that out if we wanted to. Your suspicions are unfounded, so we could just lie. Or we could say we weren't able to figure it out. Pretty clearly, we are just going to tell him everything. Ledoux nods, unsurprised. Then Harmon leaps to his feet. "You utter shit!" he shrieks. But Nonos has stepped forward and clamped his hands on Harmon's shoulders, forcing the young man back down into his chair. From the desk drawer, Ledoux takes a roll of black gaffer tape. He tosses it to Nonos, and you watch as Nonos tears off a strip and wraps it tight around the struggling young man's wrists. He takes a second strip and presses it tight across Harmon's mouth, so Harmon is almost gagging on it. Ledoux watches for your reaction throughout this, but you remain impassive. At last, when Harmon is bound, Ledoux lifts his phone once more. Yep, Harmon's ready to go through to the prep room. The 2 thugs you saw earlier return and manhandle Harmon, grunting and struggling out of the room. You won't treat him too badly, I trust, you say, once the three of them have left. Ledo simply gives you a little smile by way of response. Then Ledo says, I mentioned a favor. He lifts a remote control from his desk and presses a button. From unseen speakers come the sound of an opera, perhaps one of Wagner's, you're unsure. Do you recognize the tenor? Asks Ledo. You listen more closely. It's true the tenor is giving a virtuoso performance. His voice is clear and yet conveys remarkable emotion. But you don't recognize him, and so you say, And so you say. And you say, so. I can read. That's Emmanuel Orno, continues Ledo. You probably heard of him. He's rather famous even outside the operatic sphere. What's less well known is that Emmanuel occasionally seeks to escape the fame that surrounds him. This is how I first met Emmanuel. In fact, about a year ago, I helped him during his short-lived efforts to flee the media spotlight. Ledo gives an almost shy smile. We fell in love, I guess. That's a charming story, you say. Does it have anything to do with this favor? Yes, answers Ledo. I want you to inhabit Emmanuel and humiliate him. I want you to destroy his reputation and his career. No, what we did before was a test of our power, and now we have to do him a favor. You see, I don't react well to rejection. And reject me is precisely what Emmanuel did. Now, it's time for revenge. He's performing on stage at the Palais Garnier tomorrow evening in front of a couple of thousand people. I want you to go there, inhabit Emmanuel's body, and to do something fantastically embarrassing on stage. Get naked. Perform some sort of sex act. I don't care what you do. Just leave his reputation in pieces. You do that, and I'll give you whatever help you need to find both the Riker Foundation and Orpheus and get your own body back. You can even look at this as charity. Emmanuel detests the fame that's been heaped upon him. He'll thank you for doing this. Possess him in check if you like. Now, will you do it? All right, so are we going to do it? I'm just going to say right up front, Emmanuel is a romance option. He is one of the biggest romance options, in fact. And, yeah, we should romance him. It's pretty great. We don't have much alternative. We'll have to do this. We're going to have to do it. So what do you think we should do? Maybe that should be homework for next week. We can come up with ideas of what we can do on stage. Ledo grins, showing that gold tooth once more. Excellent. You'll see you've made the right choice here today. For both of us. You stay and speak with Ledo a little longer about the practical details of his plan. If he can do all he claims to be able to, you'll soon be reunited with your body. And yet you increasingly wonder if your life is worth the deal with the devil you seem to have struck this night. It's long. We're about halfway through. Yeah, I know. Chapter 5. All right. That is the stream for tonight. I mean, unless you guys really want to keep going, but a bunch of people left. I feel like this is a good stopping point. We are about halfway through. Things are going to pick up after this. Should be fun. So I don't know exactly when we'll continue, but sometime next month I will find a time for it. This is one of the ways it can end up if you go with Annika. There are several other things that can happen as well. I mean, also, if we had... If we could have not worked things out with Ledo, and he could have thrown us out, and then we'd have to do an entirely different thing, and that's actually kind of interesting too. But yeah, there's the choice of games. They're not all like great or well written or anything, but they all do a good job of actually having lots of different choices and different ways things can play out. So I do find them very enjoyable in that aspect. Yeah, so even if they're not like good literature, they're good choose-your-own-adventure novels. You can go to their website. They've got demos of all their games. You can play the first 3 chapters of all of them for free. They're worth trying. Yes, these are definitely better than David Cage games. Yeah, I think the engine is freely available. They have a fan-made section on their website, so I think you can get the engine from them. And I think it's really just like you write a book and give it to them, and they'll choose whether or not to publish it. Yeah, you'll probably want to watch this back on Hitbox, Kuro, because you missed a lot. But it will be archived on Hitbox. I might put it on YouTube as well. My channel doesn't have that much stuff on it anyway, so I might throw it up there. Alright, well, that was a lot of fun. I got to pretend I was Super Great Friend for a night, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for coming, guys. Really glad I got to do this. And we'll definitely do it again. Next week will probably just be fibbage or something like that, but we shall continue again soon. Good night to you all.